pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend Larry Light.
Okay. Let's just bow for a little prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for this beautiful day. We thank you for the privilege of life and the gift of being here. We pray for those in our village who are not well, who are sick even this evening, that you would touch them and bless them and bring healing to them. We pray tonight for this meeting, for our mayor and the trustees, all those people that are here. And we just invite your presence into this time and ask that you would guide and direct them as the people who are leading our community. We pray for favor in the businesses that would come here. We pray for wisdom in the decisions that will be made tonight, that they would honor you, and somehow, Lord, you would breathe new life into our community and bless us. So, Lord, thank you for each person here, whatever role they play, and may you give us the spirit of unity and blessing. Guide and direct us, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Guess we'll get started. First thing, number one on the agenda is the abstracts. Everyone has already had copies of them and had time to look at it. Do you have any questions? If not, I need a motion for the abstracts.
I make that motion.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. So, Steve, you're first tonight. Code enforcement.
George, you're sick or on vacation?
Vacation.
Oh, nice.
You gave him a break. Gave her.
Good evening, everybody.
Nice, Steve.
Good evening.
Everybody's got my report.
Yes, thank you.
A couple of additional things that I want to bring up. I guess, first of all, I wasn't here last month because I was at training for a community rating system. So theoretically, I'm much smarter about that process now.
Good.
And I would say, generally speaking, probably a 1 to 2 year process to get fully enrolled in community rating system. I'm thinking, based on what I learned at class, based on what I know what the village is doing right now, where we stand in terms of flood mitigation and all of those sorts of things, I'm thinking that we can probably fairly easily come in at a level 8, which would be a 10% discount for the people who have flood insurance policies. Probably it wouldn't take too much more effort to get in at a level 7. Each time you go up a level, it's a 5% discount on flood insurance. So I think it's a good thing. It's gonna, we're gonna put it down and get at getting enrolled, and it's quite a process, but I think it's certainly will be worth it in the end, especially in light of the new regulations that, well, they started out at being a 25% increase for policyholders that fell into certain categories to get to the full risk rate, because some people, when they bought their insurance, they were essentially subsidized or got a discount because that structure existed before the flood maps came into being. So what NFIP did was basically subsidize them, and the changes affect that subsidy. So they're trying to get people to what their actual risk is and have them pay at their actual risk rate. So without getting into a whole lot more detail, that's essentially what the NFIP is doing. So anything that we can do to kind of counteract that, I think it would be in the community's best interest.
And
so.
Steve, once say you're at level 7 and you get a 15% or whatever, and it's done. What's in the years after that? What's required? Every 5 years? What do you need to do? What's the village need to do to maintain that, to stay in it?
Well, to maintain that, you kind of get a yearly checkup to, make sure you're still doing what you said you were doing when you got the rating.
Do you do that, or do people come in to do it?
People come in to do that, and then there's basically a full review every 5 years. So they come in and knock the dust bunnies out of the corners and really dig into checking up on you. And you can move up a category at any time. Obviously, the higher you go, or the higher you're trying to go, the harder it is. I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to be doing, and I guess to put it in perspective, most communities are probably in the level 7 range. There's only one and has only been one community at a level 1 rating, and that's out in California. It takes a lot of effort to get there.
Expense?
Anyway, there's no direct expense. There's no expense to join the community rating system, anything like that. I guess the expense would come in terms of any mitigation projects that we do, things of that sort. Okay. So that's on the community rating system. In line with that, we just received our preliminary flood maps. The village of Walton proper, there really isn't any changes from our 2012 map, which is our official map right now. Most of the changes occurred outside of the village in the township. There are, I think, one place, perhaps on Westbrook, where they extended the detailed study. So, but even there isn't a whole lot of change. So generally speaking, I know I know when the letters hit the mailboxes, because I started getting phone calls and people coming in the office, because what FEMA did was send out letters to homeowners in the mapped flood hazard area, saying, you're in a mapped flood hazard area, and, check with your local floodplain administrator. I haven't been completely bombarded, but I knew when they hit, because I had probably 4 or 5 people here and same number at the town, all on the same day. So generally speaking, unless a homeowner within the village proper unless they have done something to change their circumstance that would require them to get insurance, whatever the case may be, there shouldn't be a huge impact from the new flood maps, on the village. I guess the only other thing I would say would be that if there are, if like in 2012 when the maps came out and people looked at them and said, that just absolutely is crazy, it didn't happen that way. I was here in '96, I was here in '06, and the water got this high instead of this high, what they're telling me, they can come in and see me and we can discuss that. We have a 90-day appeal period where we can try to address that. It's not a guarantee that maps will change, but we can take a look at it. Absolutely, I'll take any and all comments on that. Along those lines, we had our mitigation floodplain reclamation project that took place next to the country store there on Westbrook. That doesn't appear to me as though it got factored into the maps. There may not be enough of a change there to factor into the maps, but this would be the time for us to pursue that, get the hydrology report on it, see if it did affect flood levels in that area. If it did, we can get the maps changed with the data backing that up, essentially at no cost to us. If we wait until the maps are adopted and we pursue it later, you're looking at probably $4,800 to file for a letter of map revision. So I'm working with the Flood Commission, Soil and Water, to see what we can do about generating a hydrology report, and if that proves out that it has some sort of good impact, we'll certainly pursue that and try to get that on our new maps.
Thank you.
We have a similar one out on Eastbrook, just outside the village, that was a much bigger project, has more potential in terms of having a positive effect on flood levels. And we're going to try to get the report, the hydrology report on that, see if that proves out, and because that could impact within the village limits as well. So I'll try to chase all that down and see what we come up with.
Thank you.
Not done yet. I'm on a roll tonight.
I taught him well, you know.
That means when it's trustees time, you're not gonna talk.
I generally try to not open my mouth because I stick my foot in it, but when I get on a roll, I can go pretty good. So, in the past week, myself along with the PD have addressed 3 foreclosed properties in the village in terms of them being secured, having issues there. As I sit here right now, I'm bringing this issue up to the board because we've got a lot of foreclosed properties in this village. I just dealt with another one.
Would they been foreclosed on, or they're going to?
They've been foreclosed on or are in the process, you know, and it comes
By
back.
the banks, you mean, by the lending institutions.
Right.
When you say a lot, what do you mean a lot? A lot could be, 3, it could be 30.
Well,
do you know?
I have it on my to-do list to go out and get an actual physical count. If I had to guess, as I sit here right now, probably between 15 and 20.
Really?
And they're becoming an attractive nuisance. Like I said, I had to go out last week, secure 2 of them, went out again this morning to secure another one. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, when they close them up, basically code says, if the doors and windows are secured, from a code standpoint, they're secured. The problem comes in, I mean, the one that I secured this morning on Benton Avenue, I called the phone number from the property maintenance company that was stuck on the window or on the door, and, oh, we stopped servicing that property 2 years ago. So, who do you call? You call the homeowner, the original person on the tax rolls. They don't want to have anything to do with it, but it's becoming, it's starting to become an issue. And like I said, I don't know what the answer is. I don't have some suggestions as I sit here right now.
When they go through the foreclosure process, let me ask Jody, do you get informed about that because of the clerk being the taxes and things like that?
Eventually, if the bank actually takes ownership, it takes a long time for the bank to actually take ownership.
Between A and B, there's a spot that no one really, it's still on the onus of the owner, I guess, of the property. Okay, I was just.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem. And again, it comes down to, a money spending thing again, because if we have to go in and secure it, we might be sitting on several hundred or several $1,000s, depending on the condition of the place, for years, literally.
But I mean, if the bank doesn't own it yet, and it's been foreclosed, as far as the original owner is concerned, it's sort of in limbo. So who even do you go to?
What we normally do is we add it onto the taxes.
Right.
But then that's, and then but then if the bank ends up owning it, do we get money out of the bank, or is it just money that just sort of
If it's,
okay.
if it's actually levied on their taxes and the bank owns it, we would get the money back when they pay their taxes.
Oh, okay.
We get when they pay their taxes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, I like pinching pennies as much as the next person, and that's, that's my hesitancy.
But we need
there.
to secure it anyway, so I mean,
Right.
we really don't have a choice in that because of things going on in society, not just Walton, but every place else, the drug issues and everything else. The last thing we do is need to have open buildings where
Right.
people can go and hang out and do things. So
Absolutely.
if it's inevitable that the bank will own it, and it's just this procedural gap that we're in the middle of, or anyone else in the middle of, would the banks be more willing to work with us because they're gonna end up owning it and having the bill added to their tax bill
Well,
anyway?
we had a place on, give you an idea, we had a place on Fancher Avenue that was open. The bank was called, the bank is in the process of having they said, we'll send somebody out within 48 hours and we'll secure the location. Well, 48 hours passed, I get a text message from one of the police officers saying, Mayor, the building, the room, the door is still wide open, what should we do? So I said, He called Steve, and I said, we need to secure it, get the receipts, we'll give it to Jody, she'll attach it onto the taxes. That's the only thing we can do. We have to make sure that these buildings are secured. And he had to go back, and Steve did another couple locations where he had to go in and secure it and put plywood on it and everything. You know, we don't like to do it, but we have to do it because it's a safety issue.
And, you know, so long as we're good with that procedure, you know, I guess that's the answer for the time
It's
being.
the only thing we can do right now.
Your concern also is the aesthetics.
Well, the aesthetics as well, yeah. I mean, you've got a bunch of these houses sitting around, you know, not being cared for. And, you know, my frustration comes in when you've got a lawn that needs to be mowed and you know, 5 service companies ago is the last phone number that's on the building. You know, granted, we will see the money eventually, but, you know, in the meantime, you know, the property's growing up this high and it needs to be addressed, and, you know.
We just need to keep taking care of it where we are, and we'll resolve it at the end. But meanwhile, we need to make sure it's secure from any of the kids hanging out or any bad element, and we need to keep it looking good, because that's part of the problem we have here too, is people not maintaining their properties. And so if we have to lead through example, as you learn when you're a kid,
Right,
you know,
right, yep.
you lead through example. So we're the only ones that can do something about it, so we need to make sure they're taken care of.
So long as we're on the same sheet with
Yeah.
that, I'll continue to march forward
We're on
with
the
that.
same shape with that,
Okay.
I think.
And lastly, and of course I didn't bring that one, I gave you kind of a last minute, on 42 Bruce Street. 42 Bruce Street has become a property maintenance nightmare over the last 3 or 4 months. You know, to cut to the chase, you've got some pictures there. Basically, it's a rental property. It's a whole house rental. The guy that's renting it right now is essentially operating a salvage yard out of the place. You know, as I indicated in my letter to you, the inventory changes daily, but the appearance of the place does not ever get any better. I drove by there today. There's probably 5 empty trailers, you know, most of which are parked on the front lawn. The 2 Jeeps that you see in the picture there now are gone. It was replaced with a Geo Tracker for a short period of time. And the vehicle way back by the garage has been there for the duration of this whole issue. So I guess the bottom line is I've issued the guy tickets for having too many motor vehicles on the property and accumulation of rubbish on the property. I'm going to continue to pursue that process.
Well, it's getting to be a theme. I mean, to
Well,
Steve's
the police
credit.
have also gone down, and Brian,
I
chief,
put parking tickets on, across sidewalks, on sidewalks.
yeah, so, it's not just Steve, it's the police has also been.
Yeah.
So where's our hammer, though? I mean, this is, because this is,
Well, and that's why, you know, I'm going to continue to pursue the ticket process. If it ends up in a trial, which I fully expect he's going to plead not guilty, and we're going to be all standing in front of the judge. In order to prosecute it, we're looking at probably $600 to $800, as quoted to me by our attorney, for him to come over the hill to prosecute the case. He has suggested that I prosecute it myself with the judge's and ADA's approval. I don't expect that I'm going to get that approval. So if we're going to pursue the tickets any further, we need board approval to have him come prosecute it. In the meantime, we still have another process available, which I outlined in the letter, which is a nuisance property process. So we can hold a hearing with him in front of the board. He can explain his situation, and if the board deems that it is a nuisance property, then the board can authorize village hired or village crew themselves to come in and abate the issue, which would be to haul all of the junk out of there.
At what
See, ma-
point does the homeowner have any responsibility for this?
Code very clearly states that, you know, if it was the condition of the house itself and the roof was falling in, that would be the actual property owner's responsibility. In this case, the tenant is creating the issue, therefore it is the tenant's responsibility.
Is he really a tenant, so to speak?
Well, that's debatable. I was under the understanding that the homeowner was in the process of evicting this individual for non-payment, and apparently that process has stalled as well. So, I mean, once he's in there, he's in there, he's a tenant.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny how the laws of,
Yeah.
you know, I don't like to get into that, but I
Yeah,
would say
I-
that the laws on the books have always been, they protect the guilty, not the innocent, and that's what really gets me. Because this guy is really not, he's a squatter.
That's
That's the
essentially.
bottom line.
right.
He's a squatter. He don't pay rent, he don't pay diddly, he does nothing. He comes there and he's made the place a pig pen, and he's made the neighborhood a pigsty by the way that what he does. And I think that we need to do whatever we can to get,
What, and if we can bring him in and have a hearing, and then have that be, you know, he's been ticketed, he's been warned, whether it's Brian or Steve, whoever, any number of times, and then when he comes before the village board as a hearing, there's no fourth chance. Do you know what I mean? I'd like that to be like the last step, and then whatever consequences there are, we have those be that's it. It's not like, okay, come back, and if it's cleaned up by the next board meeting.
I mean, whatever the majority wants. I feel he's had his last year. Come on, he's got numerous summonses by the code guy. He's got summonses by the police department. I visually noticed it day after day. He's been told, he's been
Sure.
talked to, he's been asked, he's been pleaded to. You know, I mean, how many times?
But can we do something without having him come before the board?
Not under that
Oh,
process, no.
unfortunately,
We
so
have
we
to-
have to-
And we have special, you know, middle of the day, spur of the moment board meetings for all sorts of stuff, whether it's the budget or other things. I just assume not wait another month and have them come.
Okay, sure.
We could have a special.
I mean, I'm
board
speaking
meeting
for
to do
myself,
that,
maybe
right.
other people don't like, but I'm saying, you know, it's gone on long enough, and to me, it's.
Let's do it right away and let's get it as soon
Be
as
done with
possible.
it,
and be done
yes.
with it. I
Steve,
agree
do
with
we
you.
have other properties in the same condition?
We do, and I have addressed him in all of the ways discussed to this point, yes.
That's what I'm trying to.
So, I mean, ultimately, he's got to have 10 days' notice. You know, he's got to have prior notice, so if I
Maybe
send a
I'm missing
letter
on something.
out.
Just explain one thing to me and the board.
Sure.
If he comes before the board, what do we have, what can we do after that? Other than just get the lawyer to go in and
You
go to
can,
trial?
well, no, if he comes before the board and the board deems the property as a nuisance property,
Okay.
okay, then the board can say, I guess ultimately it would be up to you. You could say, you have 10 days to clean this up, or we're going to, or you can say, okay, it's a nuisance property, we're going to authorize code enforcement to go hire somebody to go clean up the property and send you the bill.
Can we
Yeah, but when
send
he
him?
doesn't pay, you
Right.
just said it wasn't the owner's responsibility. What happens when he doesn't pay?
He hasn't paid anything else, why would we expect he would pay this?
It's a good question.
Maybe the advantage of doing it this route is that we would get the clutter gone, and we wouldn't have to pay $800 or whatever the lawyer's fee to do that. So that's what.
Right, I mean, the bottom line is, it's going to cost us some money. Whether we get it back eventually remains to be seen.
If we remove these vehicles that he has, can we take them and sell them for salvage?
I would have to contact, I had that question run through my head, and I got to contact our lawyer on that. What do we do with the stuff once we remove it?
Has he been told enough, with enough specificity for us to say, there's a board meeting, a hearing, whatever it's called, on May 17th, you know, whatever the day would be. And if your property's not cleaned up, you will hear from the board that we're confiscating your whatever, or do we
Well,
have to
he's gonna have
have
to come before the board, right?
Well, in the letter that I send to him, basically the process works. I send him a letter that says that, basically that I believe that the property is a nuisance property and that he is in violation of our local zoning regulations. And that a hearing before the board has been scheduled for such and such a date. whatever that date is. And he's expected to appear before that board. If he fails to show up, and it says this in the letter, if he fails to show up, then that's essentially an admission of guilt. I mean, the board can do what they want. During that 10-day period that he has to have that notice, he could send us a letter saying, detailing this is all the rubbish that I plan on removing, et cetera, et cetera. If that plan is acceptable to me, then we can waive the hearing. He cleans it up. I go back and check on the date that he says he was going to have it all gone, and problem solved. Okay. If he doesn't, obviously, if he doesn't send that letter of assent, then basically we expect him to show up at the board at the meeting. If he doesn't show, then you guys can do what you want to do.
Legally, he shows up, you send the letter,
Right.
you wait the 10 days, whatever it is, and he shows up. Are we able to say at that meeting, you've had chance after notice, and we're not satisfied with your explanation, and there's no more 10 days. This decision is now, and we're taking your stuff or boarding up the house. We can do it at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay, then we have too many of these situations that where we're required to, all these leapfrog step after step, and if there's an opportunity to come up to not add another step into it, then my feeling would be call them in, have a special meeting, my take on it, and be done with it, rather than add yet another boxcar onto
Right.
it.
Right.
We did something similar to this about a year ago with a property on East Street.
East Street, yeah.
Where,
Okay.
and in that case, it wasn't a rental property, it was a homeowner, but she came in, explained her case.
Oh, I know, okay, right
And
after
gave her
that.
real clear guidance as to what to do, and
Do you think maybe the board should also be contacting the homeowner to maybe pressure them a little bit to start the eviction process to go through with it also?
I've been in, I won't say super regular contact, but I've been in contact with the homeowner, and I've been pushing that issue. Absolutely.
Well, why don't you make a note of it, so we have the CYA, and we have, a trail that we've been doing the right thing that way.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so do we want to set a hearing date?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we hold a special hearing to address the property at 42 Bruce Street.
And we need to make a date on it now?
Yes, we need to. Tomorrow, obviously, would be the date that I send the letter out, so it has to be 10 days from the date of the letter at a minimum. And I don't have a calendar in front of me.
I have one idea.
And I
The
probably can't see that far.
16th is a Friday, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
16th, how about the 16th? That's a Friday. All right?
Tomorrow is the 6th.
Yep.
right?
Yep,
The 16th?
works for me.
What time you want
10, I don't.
10 o'clock?
10
10 o'clock is good? Charlie, is good for you?
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
Good.
good. Yep.
Okay. 16th at 10 o'clock. It is. Now, you're saying if we have the meeting, we don't have to give another 10 days?
There's a motion on the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep, so-
Have a second?
At 10 a.m. on the
Second.
16th.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Who did that, Tink?
Tink did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry. looks like that. All right, now that, when he comes to you, he said, we don't have to give any more notices. We can do what we're gonna do right there that night, that day.
Let me double check that, but I believe that's true, yes.
And now, will you notify the homeowner of this?
I will also notify the homeowner that this
Thank
is taking, I'll CC them on the letter that I'm sending to.
In your mind, are we setting a precedence for the rest of these areas that are in the same?
Are we setting a precedence? From my perspective, no, because basically my guidance is that I can use any and all tools available to me to address any given issue. So if I want to give them a ticket and use this process and, whatever else is available to me, I can do that, or I can just choose one of them and follow that process through.
This is a precedent I'd like to set, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah. And,
Maybe,
you know,
maybe if some of those people that are keeping their properties like that see that we do have some teeth in what we're talking about, maybe they'll think twice about going through this process with us.
Yep, and quite frankly, I think if we get ourselves skilled at this, so it's not quite so cumbersome, that
Yeah, okay, good.
it would be a good tool for us for me to start using more. So now, in terms of the tickets that I still have on this property, what would you, basically, are you going to fund our attorney to come prosecute them if it gets to that point? Do we want to just kind of forget about those and pursue this process?
Well, is it a prosecution or is it a civil suit? Because if it's a prosecution, the DA's office would take care of that, wouldn't they? If it's a civil suit, you can represent the village for us.
Yeah, you can, yes.
Well, in conversation with our lawyer, he's saying that I would have to have approval from the DA to do so.
Well, I think
So-
that's probably your next step, speak
Right.
with the DA and see what they say, what guidance they give you.
You can prosecute that.
Yeah.
Right. There seems to be some confusion in the guidance that I'm getting as to, you
probably want to go to the source.
if it's a matter of me, prosecuting it myself, it's not a big deal because
You have the
here's the
pictures,
picture,
yeah,
Right.
you know.
You have all the information.
Right.
So you can just call up the VA and double check.
Okay, so, and if I can't, if we have to have our lawyer present,
I think we should revisit it.
okay,
I don't think we should make a decision on that without knowing what's going to happen.
okay,
I think we can do that on the 16th.
We got the 16th anyway,
Yep.
so 10 days we'll know.
okay, sounds good. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
One question, you put out a call for certificates of elevation. Have you had much response?
Elevation certificates, I did get, I asked Jody to put a blurb in the paper. I don't think I've gotten any response out of that. I did contact some surveyors. I've gotten response from 2 of them. One of them sent me some that he had on file. The other one wasn't sure whether he could or couldn't, was gonna check, so, and he was gonna get back to me, and that was a little while ago. So I gotta get back with him and find out what, I'm not gonna ask him to do something he's not comfortable with, but I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be able to. There's no information on those things that I don't have access to already anyway.
So what we're encouraging folks to do is if, for your property in the village, you've had to have a certificate of elevation completed, to make a copy so that we can have it here on file to help us with our flood mitigation process.
And that factors into, probably not so much these elevation certificates per se, but it does factor in the community rating system, earning us points. Primarily what they're concerned about in the CRS would be new construction, having that elevation certificate to basically prove that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But any and all data is very much useful. One other thing while I got your ear, I told you, I was on a roll tonight.
You're fine where Roger leaves off.
Yeah.
Except he called.
Well, yeah, I missed last month, so I got to catch up. Our Main Street grant program that Economic Development put together, we got, I didn't even count them all, probably 8 or 10 applicants. I'm meeting with a handful of them Wednesday morning, and we're gonna, hash out their projects. So that thing is moving forward. We had some really good projects that people want to do, all in the effort of these business owners protecting their property and
That's good.
so, and as part of that, we're going to have some elevations on Main Street. I don't know that they'll stay there forever, but basically what they're going to do is they're going to come in, the surveyor's going to come in and give us some known elevations to work off, so I don't have to talk like this all of the time anymore, so that when I go in and say, okay, I know that on this telephone pole, this is 1,211 feet, then we can talk some real numbers with people and say, okay, you got to get this high, or you only need to go this high, whatever. So that'll be some good stuff that comes out of this as part of this process.
Good, very good.
All right?
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, I'm going to leave before I say anything else.
Chief?
Evening, everybody.
Hey, Chief, welcome back.
Thank you, appreciate that. I don't really have a lot for you this evening, just have my monthly report. If you guys got any questions, concerns on it.
Brian, operating a motor vehicle without an interlock, is that the DWI?
Yes,
thing?
if you're convicted now of a DWI, you have to have an interlock device
Okay.
put on your vehicle before you could even, any vehicle you drive
Did
actually.
they override it, or?
He drove one without one.
Oh, a different vehicle,
Yeah.
okay.
You can see we had, my DWI officer had 4 DWIs last month again. Unfortunately, that's still an ongoing issue, but we keep after it.
When we said in the news, like, they'll say the state police are having a sweep where they're looking at texting or DWI or seatbelt, the village police departments get caught up in that? I don't mean.
We can.
Okay. I didn't know if it happens locally when you hear that it's happened statewide.
Yeah, we can, have one locally. I haven't.
Okay.
But we
So
can.
it's not
get-
an automatic?
No.
Okay,
no.
okay.
At some point, I would like to, getting those checkpoints and do with them.
Yeah.
Have one here in the village or whatever.
We had talked, I think, at last month's meeting about pursuing possibly federal excess equipment. I know you've been out. Was your sergeant able to work on that?
No, that's something that, I gotta be honest with you, it kinda went by the wayside. That's my fault.
Oh, you've had other things on your
So,
mind.
that's something that's still on my list. I just, give me a few days to get back in the swing of things and I'll start looking into that stuff.
Good.
That's all I have.
Anything else for the
Questions?
chief?
Any
If not,
questions?
thank you, chief. Glad to see you back.
Thank you.
Bill Brown?
Evening, everybody.
Hi, Bill.
Good evening.
Bill?
Get that one on there, Doug. There you go. Thank you. Just a couple things to touch base on tonight. At the wastewater treatment plant, had about 7,500 gallons of septage, so it's a little bit of revenue for the village, getting back into springtime, so those volumes are starting to creep up. We do have an ongoing project that we started about last month. The CBUD building HVAC repairs. We're putting some new ventilation equipment in the filter building at the back of the plant. It's a project that's funded by the city. We started construction this past month with some of the demo work there. The bulk of the equipment is starting to come in this week and then into next week. We had in the initial schedule to be done by May 15th. With the equipment taking longer, we're asking for a couple more weeks to wrap everything up. It's not a cost increase. We're just asking for till the end of the month, May 30th, for a contract extension to get all the equipment in and get the contract closed out.
It's not a problem with the city or anything?
No. It'll still be under this year's sewer budget, which we had money budgeted for this project. And
I'll make the motion that we extend the time to May 30th.
Need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
the next item is actually the third page of our handout. There's a project brief on a project we've been working with in cooperation with Delaware Operations, the sewer committee, the mayor, for the last couple of months. It's still a very early project, but it's looking at putting in an anaerobic digester at the wastewater treatment plant. It's a digester is a large piece of equipment that processes waste in such a manner that it gives off methane gas, which then can be converted to electricity. We're looking at the possibility of putting one of these in at the wastewater treatment plant. Right now, we're looking at submitting a grant application to NYSERDA, New York State Energy Research Development Authority. They came out with a program over the last few months to fund projects throughout the state to put these types of processes in, these types of equipment in. So we're looking at submitting an application to fund this type of project at the wastewater treatment plant. The idea would be to put a digester in, have waste streams that are already coming into the wastewater plant from industrial facilities that produce the type of waste that we need to feed the process, the digester. Our local craft facility produces this type of waste that they currently already send, and we treat it at our existing wastewater treatment plant. We run it through a different process. We can potentially generate electricity. There's other industries in the area that have waste from their facilities that we could potentially tap. They could, instead of taking it wherever they take it now, they could bring it to our facility. It may be more cost effective for them to do that than trucking it, you know, to Oneonta or Binghamton or Ithaca or wherever they may have to truck it now. If we had this come into the wastewater treatment plant, we could generate electricity in-house versus having to buy it from NYSEG. It reduces the cost that we have to pay every month. There would also be fees associated with different industries bringing those wastes to the wastewater plant. So the idea would be the cost savings on the electricity and any fees that were you know, collected would hopefully offset the cost of building this type of structure. It's very early in the process. You know, we're mainly looking at feasibilities right now. It's conceptual. We don't have all the numbers. We don't have all the answers. You know, we're doing the studies and the grant application to try to find money to fund this type of project. But it seems like it's something that would be good for the village. You know, good for the community.
Well,
good for some
real major downside to it.
Right.
Quite the opposite, actually.
You know, it's a green project, so to speak. It's taking waste and converting it to electricity. So
I think it's a good investment for the village to pursue that.
we're you know, there's a lot of, you know, group effort involved. So right now we're in the early stages, and we're gonna see what we can make happen with it. So.
Nice. I like the idea that the electricity stays locally, as opposed to the wind turbines that just gets put in a grid and sent downstate, no benefit to us.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's, instead of buying, you know, all your electricity from NYSEG, you could buy less and, you know, make some yourself. So.
Bill, was it assuming no major glitches? Would you give us a timeline?
There is a grant application date of July 1, I believe, for the current round of funding for the NYSERDA application, so we're looking to meet that. That's the immediate deadline. Beyond that, it's kind of as we as the project team in the village set the process. You know, there is the possibility of working with other entities. You know, it's different state agencies, possibly the SUNY system, to develop different opportunities. Again, very early in the process, but you know, we're trying to work through some of those details.
It's only going to be a win-win for all.
Yeah, well, you don't want to get
Not only do we
excited
save
too
on the
soon,
electricity,
right?
but there's extra funds generated for the general fund too that we're going to have. So it's a win all the way around. And if it works out the way that we're hoping, we may be even a way of piping up to the school to save them energy costs as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, everybody in the county is going to be bringing their waste to Walton, and we're going to be happy about it.
Yeah, but it's a good thing. It's a win all the way around. Okay.
So, just wanted to bring that to the board.
Yeah, and I think, Mr. Mayor, you visited the site, didn't you?
Yes.
And there was no bad odors or anything like
No,
that?
I didn't even know. If you didn't know what it was there, you would have no idea. There's no
It's
smell.
contained. I mean,
contained.
it's right. It's just gonna, if and when it goes, it'll just be another building. It'll be on the wastewater treatment plant site, so it's not like it'll be on Main Street or something like that. It'd be over there where your current facilities are. There'd just be another building, so that's where some of the waste would go.
Okay. Cool.
To switch gears from wastewater treatment plant to some of the water projects we have going. Terrace Avenue, we know we have some restoration there. I talked with the contractor, it's on their schedule, waiting for a few nice days. We're getting nice days now, so I'm hoping the next week or two to have somebody on site. I'm hoping we are kind of pushing that. We did withhold some of their money last fall, so they do have an incentive to come back. The last item on our agenda is the Corey and Platt Street water main replacement. We're looking to replace water lines on Platte from North to Townsend and also on Quarry Street, hopefully this summer. We've got plans wrapped up for that. They went to the health department. Excuse me. So we are asking that the board authorize the clerk to advertise for bids, to go to bid with the project, to get, quotes to see what it's gonna cost.
Need a motion for that?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The goal there is to hopefully go out to bid this month and hopefully be coming back to you guys in June with bids to go to construction.
Oh, great. I mean, it's good that we're trying to do these projects. We're picking smaller projects like we did with Terrace Avenue, just so everybody knows that we can pay for it ourselves out of the water fund for the money that we generate. Therefore, we save a whole bunch of money on interest and fees for 20 years. So it's a good thing. I mean, last time we did the big project, because we did all, we did Townsend Street, and it was good, but we're paying it off for 35 years. It's and you kind of like pay for it twice, before you're done.
Easily.
But we don't have the money, So unfortunately, we've accumulated a little bit of money in the water fund, so we're able to do this. So pick a smaller project so we can pay for it right up front, and then no interest fees. So and the one on Quarry Street is one of the oldest lines still. I think they have 3-inch steel lines.
Yeah, Quarry and Platte Street.
And Platte Street.
We believe are the last of the 3-inch pipes.
So they'll last. So Dave?
Where
We're
is
gonna have
Platte
it.
Street? I don't,
We finally concluded your street. So, and last of the steel pipes will be gone, and then we have to go to other things. But it's hard to explain to people about the water system, because when it floods, you see the water. When you see other things, you see them, but the water you don't see. You just put the spigot on, and when the water works, it's great. And you don't notice until it doesn't come out or it's something discolored. So we're trying to avoid that. These are the last two old areas that waiting for something to happen, so we're gonna try and beat it and fix it first. So.
We want to try to beat, Platte Street, or Mead Street, we had a main break last winter, and it's still very rough driving through that, but by doing this here, we can avoid having street problems, having folks lose water to their homes.
Did you want that in the paper this week? Or you're not ready?
Yeah, it'll probably be another week or two before we get the health department sign off.
Okay.
I'll get the ad for you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Do you want to do that administrative fee while we're doing?
Sure.
Yeah, just do
Huh?
Why not just do
That's fine.
Okay. Next, number 3, we'll do public input. This is your time to say, have a few minutes, to have 5 minutes to say what you want to have on your mind. All we ask you to do is just raise your hand, stand up, say your name, where you live, and I'll give you some time to talk. So, okay.
My name is George Avelas. I own and I reside at 28 Burton Street. The street is narrow. For 13 years that I live there, they only park one side of the street, and only one side has sidewalks. My side does not have sidewalks. My home and the gentleman next door to me, we have a bank. The past 8-9 months, they started parking both sides of the street, and that make a two-way street into one-way street. Many times I try to approach my home, and there are 5-6 cars on the right, 5-6 cars on the left, and if a car comes from 150 feet away, I have to sit and wait for him to come, to cross by, so I can safely get into my driveway. That shouldn't happen on a street that is narrow. If it's two-way street, should always be 2 lines available, not 1 line. That's the New York State law. I'm coming out of my driveway. There's a narrow driveway. They park here on my left side. They park across the street. They park a big truck, so I cannot interfere with my view. I cannot see if any car comes from my left with danger, pretty much. And I have difficulty making a left turn because they park here, they park there. If you come straight, you can go through. But it's a narrow street. Not supposed to. Besides that, ahead is a dead-end street, but it's a half-mile long. And in the middle of the street, there is an entrance to the community, to the one that was not successfully done. If one day the community develops, it will be traffic coming from there through Belton Street, where they were loading and unloading the dirt, the trucks. No one was able to park on either side of the streets. It proves how narrow the street is, cannot handle cars to park. I have difficulty coming out of my driveway. The park against my bank. I cannot maintain my bank because the park there, my bank is very sloppery like that. The only way I can cut the bank from the bottom with my grass cutter, and I go. If a car is parked there, I cannot do it. I cannot do the snow during the winter.
When you started, you say there are no parking signs, or there are no?
There are no parking signs anywhere.
Okay.
All right, but the street is no more than 35 feet.
That street doesn't have no parking.
When
That's
the
what I
parking
thought,
one
yeah.
side, all right, very narrowly leaves 2 lines available. But if the park on the left and on the right, that leaves only 1 line available. One is two-way street.
Do you know who it is? Is it homeowners in the neighborhood or people?
No, there is somebody that lives across the street from me. All his friends that coming over, they park on against my bank and the gentleman's bank, all right? And the beautiful thing, they are not there. They park the cars and they leave. And they come back at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. If my house had a fire, the fire truck wouldn't be able to approach to put the fire out. But most difficult, I have an 80, 90 feet truck. How am I gonna come out? I haven't used it.
We've had that problem before, some years back where.
We need the signs, at least, if not for the whole block, that I think it should be for the whole block, at least for the gentleman and mine, is a ban. They cannot get out.
Where it wasn't just a convenience or an inconvenience issue, but a fire safety issue, and would sort of turn the tide. I think like there's however people are feeling, but it's like a local law process for even within the village. But it's when it's happened before, the fire safety issue and fire trucks getting through was really the telling thing, as much as the inconvenience. Not to downplay that part of it, but that was really the kicker when you realize fire trucks, especially the size trucks they have anymore, you don't get down a skinny street with cars on it.
Well, if you want to do something like that, we have to have a public hearing.
Did you address that?
I didn't really address it, but I have been up through there, and unfortunately, when I'm through there, or at least my other guys, I've asked them to check when they've gone through it, whatever, there hasn't been an issue, but I have to talk to Mr. Somalis. Absolutely, there's an issue up there as far as parking. Have we caught it? No.
I can follow up on what he's talking about, where his driveway is and so forth.
Yeah, I know where.
Because his driveway's here. There was a truck here and then something else behind him, and across the street there was a bigger truck. I know what he's saying.
I do too. But I don't know what the remedy is.
But I don't know what the remedy is either.
I called the police officer, it was a big truck loaded with slates.
Right,
Not
stone.
a three-quarter.
Right.
A big truck, parked right, here's my driveway, was parked right here. The police officer came, he said to me, George, and I understood, I cannot do anything, he's legally parked, all right? But when the park crossed the street there, I cannot come out of my house. So that means I cannot drive my car out of my home, and there's nothing I can do about it. To get an input of the block, the people that live 5,000 feet away from me, they don't care if I come in or out of my garage. But the gentleman and I, we are the only ones that suffer from it. Personal thing, we've been harassed and vandalized by these particular people for 13 years. The other lady knows too. Something has to be done about that. I'm gonna sell my home and leave after 13 years if nothing can be done about this. I took more than I could take in this particular block, in this particular neighborhood. I plead with you people. I told them, the mayor, I pay for the signs. One at the beginning of his house and one at the end of my house. No parking on this side. Interfere with nobody, is a bank. My water pipe is right there,
You know
at the edge. You know what they do? They open the doors and they climb over my pipe. They can break my main. You know the one that goes down to the main? Because it's right there.
Mr. Savalas, I understand your position.
I'm sorry for
No, don't, no, but there's other people here that maybe want to address that same issue. Would you like to speak on this issue?
Thank you so much, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ken Wagner. I live right next to George at 24 Burton. What he's saying is absolutely true. And part of the problem is we are the only two that have a heightened bank.
You do, I know.
And to park next to it, if you have a passenger, you have to get away from the bank. So the cars are even further out in the street than they normally are. And it truly becomes a one-way. And my wife and I have our daughter right now, she's a year and a half old, and a major concern is fire safety. If something happens, I want my daughter safe, I want my house safe. And this does happen constantly. If we have people over, we're never able to utilize parking in front of our house, so we pretend it doesn't exist at this point. But it is a consistent thing. There are people, and last summer, there was one on our street multiple times. Somebody would come up, park, and it was usually in front of either George's or my house, or there's a house down the street. They'd park and they'd walk down to the intersection and head off, and they'd leave the car there for all day, sometimes 2 or 3 days. And we don't know, and like George was saying, when we're trying to maintain the bank, he does the snow blowing in the winter, I do the mowing for both of us in the summer. We can't properly take care or maintain our banks because of the vehicles in the way. And I know if I hit a stone or something like that, I break a window, I'm liable for that, I'm at fault for that. And when you go to find whoever's vehicle this is, nobody's either home or nobody can tell you whose vehicle it is. And so it has become a large problem.
Okay.
Originally, you know, once in a great while it happened, it wasn't a big deal, but this is consistent. Saturday, I had a friend up from Pennsylvania, and there was cars all day Saturday. There was 3 to 5 cars lined right down in front of us all day. And they have to park far enough out that I know Cindy's husband Daryl, sometimes when he comes in with his big truck and he has the trailer, he can't always fit on the street to back his trailer into his own driveway. I mean, and it's supposed to be a 2-way street, not a 1-way.
Okay.
And so it's become a large problem.
Okay. Would you ladies like to talk or say anything about it? Anyone?
I agree with what they're saying.
And you are, your name, please?
I'm Cindy Baker. I live at 21 Burton Street. I'm across the street from them.
Okay.
There is parking room on my side of the street. That's not my issue. I'm to agree with what they say. Same way in the wintertime when you're trying to do snow removal. When the cars are there, the village cannot properly or far enough back push the snow, then it really becomes a real problem. Then it's narrow whether there's cars there or not.
Okay.
And then it leaves it up to the homeowner to try to clear in front of their houses to get in and out of their driveways yet again.
And you're thinking no parking on one side of the street would be,
One side of the street would be fine.
Yeah.
2 sides is what narrows it up. My side of the street, the way the utility poles are and the sidewalk and such, there really is room.
If you go through the village, you'll see that most of the streets on the right side, there is no parking. But then again, on the other side of your coin, if you go to all our dead-end streets, you'll see that there's parking on both sides. So there's a discussion on both sides. But I've been on Burton Street many times lately. In the last month or so, I've gone down, and it is really, really tight. I'm just thinking when you brought up the fire issue, that God forbid anything happened, a truck would not be able to fit down.
especially if the people parking the
Yeah.
vehicles are, gone somewhere.
Sure you can.
The neighbor across the street, it's them that's doing it. They bring friends there, they go in their son's car, and they leave it parked like it's a parking lot in front of my house. And these shooters on both sides, they can't get out. So I mean, my husband has a truck and we can't use it.
Oh, you're Mrs. Straus?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And I mean, it's just getting too much. I mean, you don't mind if it happens once in a while.
And the left side is the only one with illegal sidewalk. So that should be the one that the parking is permitted. On the right side, there is no sidewalk. Now what they do, not only the park on top of my bank, but cross the street. The left tires, they're on top of their sidewalk. So to permit to have one line available, the one side they have to be on top of the sidewalk, that's one illegality. On my side, they are not on the street, but they're on top of my band. They destroy all the slates. I have slates against the band to prevent the dirt from falling down. They destroy them all. Last year, I had a person, I can bring you the bill to see it, that replaced all the stones. Because the previous year, they did the same thing. What they do, they go with a big gigantic monster truck, one of his friends got, with tires about this high. And he goes on top of the slates, and he cracked them, and he smashed them. I don't have to go through that.
Mr. Savalas, I'll tell you what we're gonna do, just so we can cut to the chase on this, because we can go back and forth and it's a long time. We'll set up a hearing for next month with everybody's approval.
Yeah.
We'll have, because in order for us to do anything, we have to have an open hearing.
No parking is actually a law, it's a village law to have no parking anywhere. So we've got, in effect, change the law to add in the no parking.
And we have to have a hearing before we can do that. So we'll schedule a hearing for June, when's our next meeting?
Second.
June
Can I
2nd.
say something to that effect, to that point? Why we need a hearing when the law is being broken?
You're missing the point, you're missing the point, Mrs. Buck.
It hasn't
In order for
broken
us to
yet.
change to put no parking there by state law, we have to have a hearing, an open hearing for everybody to come in and talk about it. And then we make a decision, and then we can put the signs up. We can't just randomly go down there and say, oh, okay, you know what, we're gonna just put no parking. We can't. There's state laws and regulations that guide us, and we have to do that.
I thought because the street does not meet the criteria,
No, we still-
the New York State criteria, it doesn't have the width to hold parking on both ends.
No, that's
And
not
at
the way,
same
it's
time,
not the way it
two-way
goes.
street, automatically that makes it
No,
illegal street.
no, it doesn't do that. It doesn't work that way.
That's not.
No.
In the past, we've had, when we've done parking on the street, we've had to, I mean, the lawyer literally had to designate, it's almost like a survey, and you're from this spot, 2,702
Yeah.
feet to this, so it's exact, and there have been times when there was an error of some sort, we forgot a driveway, and we had to redo the hearing because it wasn't in line with what the notice said about the distance.
We'll speak to Dave Merzick on it, we'll get all the right things in. We hear what you're saying, but we have to do it by the law. We're guided by the law just like anyone else is.
I understand.
And at the hearing, just so you know, when there's an open hearing, everybody on the block will get notice that there is a hearing. Everybody has a chance to come down and talk, so, I mean, we have to be fair to everybody. And I see your point, I've driven by your house many times, I know what you're talking about. You really can't get out of the car unless you're stepping in that little gully like where it goes up a hill. So I see what you're talking about, so we will schedule the hearing and we'll go from there, is that okay?
Thank you so much.
I'll make the motion that we have the hearing June 2nd to
Second.
address.
Second already, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you much. Anyone else? Yes, Maureen. No, I wasn't, I know somebody behind you wants to talk to. Go ahead.
Maureen Walker, Walton Chamber. As you know, the chamber sponsors summer concerts in Bassett Park. And I would like to know whether there's any new information on when the construction of the new gazebo might begin. At a meeting 2 or 3 months ago, I think it was Roger said that once the concrete was poured, you had to wait approximately another 4 weeks before construction could begin. Any new news?
We've been waiting, I've been talking to Roger about it, we've been trying to do something, but it's been too cold. It's still been wet, and it's soon, we had a nice day today, just give us 4 or 5 days of nice weather, and they're already talking about doing it. We'll do it as soon as we can. There's a couple stumps they want to take out over there, so we've been talking, just weather permitting, we'll do it as soon as possible. It's just really been cold.
Does he even have the specs and stuff?
Yeah, he does, I gave him all the specs, he has everything. It's just been really cold, and it's wet, and they hadn't had a chance to do it. But we're not gonna touch the other one until we get this one built.
Okay,
Just so you know.
that was my next
Yeah, I know,
question.
yeah.
Since the band does not, the bands, plural, do not want to put their sound system on the grass, I was wondering if you were going to leave the existing in place until the new one was
Yes.
completed.
Yeah,
And we'll make sure it's stable for the,
yeah.
if we need it.
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna be touched until the other one's completed. When it's completed, then we'll take care of that.
And Roger's proposed work for this month, working on the gazebo site, was one of the items that he addressed. He would have talked to Tori here.
Okay, anything
And
else?
I think you got my memo.
Yeah, I'm gonna read that when it comes to my turn.
I'm done.
Okay. Next. So one of you ladies wanna talk, right?
We have
Oh, you're gonna put,
we're number five.
we can put you, come on, you can
Do you want
talk
us to
now.
wait till
Yeah.
number 5, or do you
No,
want us to
no,
go now?
no.
Okay, I'm Roberta Austin, and I live at 14 Mead Street. These are my friends. First of all, I want to say thank you, because I think this may be my first village board meeting, and I applaud you. You are doing exactly what I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm really happy to hear all of these things that are moving forward. We're just a group of concerned, love Walton. This is our home. I'm going on 28 years of living here, and want to make sure that it continues to be a love community, and you've addressed some of the issues. We have other issues, but want you to know that we as concerned citizens have an expectation, which tonight I think you are really meeting, and want to contribute to help with some of those issues. And I don't know what it might be, whether it be a community. I know we've done the beautification, cleaning Walton Day that different people have been part of. But continue that, plus other things like help pick up your junk day, call your neighbor if you need help. I mean, I started to write down lots of ideas of positive things that we could pull together, a committee of concerned people to contribute to making this a place where new families hopefully will drive through and want to stay. It's not a pretentious community, it's wonderful, and we need to maximize what we're seeing, and we want to contribute to that. So I think we want you to know that, and maybe we can develop a committee with concerned citizens with village representation, because I think tonight I've learned that there are very definite rules, regulations, and laws that prohibit some things. I was happy to hear about removal of some of the cars that are parked on yards and sidewalks. That was one of my concerns. Somebody had asked me to speak about stuffed furniture on porches. I know that seems like a small concern, but it's just an eyesore again. And it sounds like maybe you're encouraging through letters and fines that property owners who are non-existent in our community but be required to take care of their properties. I'm encouraged by that.
What do you mean by stuffed furniture? Seeing as I got some on my
That was what somebody
board.
wrote to me, like upholstered. Upholstered.
Living room furniture on your porch.
Roberta,
That's just
Yeah,
we're
no.
not really
No, I'm just adding a little levity.
judge or exclude anybody. But, just to pick up, have community days where people take their garbage bags all out at 10 o'clock. There's a big meeting. Pick up all the garbage you see on your street. Help your neighbor mow their lawn if they need it. We don't all have the money to put into our homes right now. I know the economy is tough for lots of individuals in our village, but you can sweep your porch and you can sweep your sidewalk and you can pick up your garbage. And, those types of events, I think we need to encourage one another, promote days of helping carrying that stuffed, you want help with that, stuffed furniture off your porch and taking it to the dump. I don't know, I just think.
I'll let you know.
Okay. I just think that we have to band together. I'm happy to see that you are doing that, and not that I was worried about that, but just that you know that we support that effort, and maybe there can be a committee. Some of the people that came with me might want to introduce themselves because they might have individual concerns as well that they want to speak about, but I know Wendy wanted to talk a little bit about, and like every small community is faced with this at this point, and that's the drug use. And it sounds like our police department is really trying very hard to eradicate that, but also as concerned citizens, is there, you know, do we call the police if we see something? Is there a hotline we can establish? Just things like that, that community members can, if you will, take back our village.
I think
Contact the
it's
police department anytime you want for tips like that. Also, the Delaware County Sheriff's Department has a tip line also, that anything like that can be reported to.
Sometimes it's just suspicions, but I was out on a walk, and you feel a little funny, I suspect this, but I was on a walk kind of by your house, just across from your house, and there was a rolled up dollar bill, and like, oh, there's a, it's like the little dollar bill that's on the fishing line, and I picked it up, and white substance was, I immediately threw it down, because, and then I later thought, oh man, I should have like gone back to take care of that. What if a child picked it up? It scared me. And you found a couple hypodermic needles as you were at the park. And she'll talk about that. But I mean, that's the stuff that we need to say, we're not going to tolerate that. Just like we're not going to tolerate what Mr. Dutcher talked about with those junk cars, which you responded to. And there's a couple of other instances where I've seen abandoned, like by your house, the abandoned vehicle that's kind of, it's not an eyesore because Mr. and Mrs. Carroll do cut the grass. It's their community service, I think, to do that. But that car has not moved in 7 or 8 years, and it's parked unlicensed beside the home. And after a while, I kind of get, it's oblivious, and I kind of don't pay attention, but my classroom is right across the street from that, and I look out and I think, you know what? I'm tired of seeing that junk car there. So somebody else may not have seen it, but now I'm going to have to say something about that and say, let's get rid of that. It doesn't do justice to our community to see, and cats live in it. So, stuff like that you may not be aware of, but we need to bring it to the attention of the board so that somebody can act on it. And I think we're here to say we care. We would like to develop a committee. I have all these things I wrote down for Delaware Street, or just to get the children of our school involved and to have ownership and to care about the garbage. And we do Earth Day, we do lots of educational activities for them to become aware of that and to a love of their community. The Reinhardts want to plant daffodils. They're going to come and say, can we beautify by putting daffodils around? And nobody would say no to that, I would hope. That there are a lot of people that are supportive. Their voices may not always be heard, but we do want them to be heard. We want to have responsibility. We do want to take ownership. And we're willing to do that if there can be a committee that can be developed with,
Sure.
With,
I'm waiting to finish. I don't want to interject on you.
With trustees.
I'm thinking it's great. We could have a committee, just get the people together that want to be on this committee, and one of us, myself, or somebody else who will gladly come to the meetings and discuss it. And if there's things like you're saying, like this car for 7 years that I've probably gone down the block 1,000 times and I probably never noticed it.
It's parked nicely beside the house, but it's just,
But you see, things like that, we may, see the way it is right now, there's only, in the code, you can have one unregistered vehicle on your property. More than one, then we could do something. But now maybe, if this car has been there, maybe we need to adjust that law that says it can only stay for months rather than years. And that's something we can go to the planning board and say, we recommend that you change this or look into this. And because if you remember when I first became mayor, we went through all the planning, we changed all the planning laws, we changed a lot of the signage things to try and update it and make it a little bit easier. But we missed things, there's so many of them. So if we had a committee like yourself and you notice things like that, we could bring it up to the board and then go to the planning board and we could change it.
Okay.
We are also in the looking at Delaware Street, and there will be some things brought up about that with all the stuff out there.
Right.
We all notice it just like you do. I get tired all the time. I come down Bridge Street and I see the same stupid old chairs that have been there for 9 years or 14 years that I've been here. Change it. But we unfortunately we tried to leave it up to some of the business owners to maintain it, and they're not. And so we hate to be like Big Brother's always on top of it, but sometimes we need to be. Like you say, going out, we have to clean up there every year. Gee, you're a business owner. Couldn't you come out that day at least sweep your sidewalk? They don't do it. They don't clean the sidewalk.
Here's the thing. They're not going to, so we're going to have to pick it up for them. And that's the thing about, I guess I thought about that, and we've had lots of discussions at work around the lunch table, and we can only change what we can change, and that's ourselves. And if we're willing to go, and, you know, I take the first week in July and I water the planters, because it doesn't appear that the business owners are interested in doing that either. And Walton Beautification Committee, you know, provided those and planted those, and then what happens? So maybe we need to have a sign up, and the Austins do it the first week in July, the Morgans do it the second week in July, and we just do that. That's just part of showing concern for our community. I think we're willing to do that.
Sure.
I might suggest that you contact Dawn Northrup.
Yes, I do.
To find out
Yeah.
if her group from the high school,
Yes.
which I know last year they had abandoned it. But if there's enough interest, maybe that group would be revitalized.
I agree, and I think that's wonderful, and they did that for that one day, and there was a lot of community
It was
spirit.
twice, spring and
Okay.
fall.
And you invite your friend, hey, I'm going down to, and you think, why should I have to wash the windows downtown? Well, I guess I do because nobody else, but you invite your friend, you invite your neighbor. I mean, I was thinking about that, and there's some neighbors I don't really know well, and I thought, well, I'm gonna invite them to go with me for that day. Maybe I can, if you have a personal invitation, you're more likely to want to participate in the activity. And this is another really, really strange idea, but I think we have to start thinking outside of the box. You know, we have a beautiful river that has caused us concern, but it also is a beautiful river that possibly could promote business, kayaking, canoeing. We have a mountain, we have mountain bikers, you know, that's a great thing that could bring people, tourism to our community. So I wondered if you, and I know it's a cost, but ever thought about a village planner, even if it were per diem or for a short time or somebody's graduate assistantship, I don't know, but I just think maybe that, I know you are all very busy, this is your extra job, you work at something else, and maybe somebody could dedicate some of their time to that specifically. So
That's a possibility, sure.
that's kind of what I want to say, but maybe we can have an ongoing list of things and a committee established, as Maureen said, and start taking on some of these projects and showing pride, and hopefully others will then want to show that as well.
That's great. I mean, we've been fortunate last year, the 4-H clubs, there's been a couple groups that have come down. They helped out with the street cleanup that we had last year. And Charlie was there, I was there, we were out washing windows. So, I mean, that's a great thing. I hope they're gonna do it again. I think Greg Waldron's group was the one that started that last year. Not Greg Waldron, Greg Groutman, sorry. He was the one that did it.
And the high school students for community service raped individuals' yards,
Yep.
and I thought maybe we can match at school through the guidance office a student with a community member who needs help, but they can only pay $7 an hour. I mean, there are some students who may work for that, and, we just need to kind of organize those types of events. And, maybe we could paint the downstairs storefronts that are empty to look like Disney World. I don't know. Just put up a facade. We need to do something like that.
Maureen,
Okay.
as an extension to what Roberta is saying, can you, as the president of the chamber, implore the members to take care of their properties? I feel like they should be embarrassed that other people are coming to wash their windows. It doesn't take 5 minutes in the morning to sweep the sidewalks,
I agree with you, and as the mayor knows, we were working jointly on some of these spring-fall cleanups, and it was amazing to see citizens who aren't even storekeepers, private citizens, well-to-do citizens out there sweeping sidewalks, picking up cigarette butts, pulling weeds, and they didn't even have businesses on Delaware Street. And some of your Delaware Street merchants weren't out there helping. It made me a bit angry.
Yeah, the rest of us take care of our own homes.
I agree with you 100%. I don't know what to tell you. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
The thing that's always baffled me is, and I've never run a business, I've never owned a business, but if I owned a business and I was reliant on people coming into my business and buying things to make a living, I'd want them to be leaving my business with an awfully good feeling. I'd want them to feel welcome, and it just doesn't happen for the most part, with a few exceptions. But you drive down Delaware Street, and it's gone on for decades, and we've all got our examples of what should have happened and didn't. But it just amazes me that you could let your property go there. And I know there's a lot of absentee landlords, and the people running the business are just that. They're running the business, they don't own the building, but somewhere there's a disconnect. And not that many years ago, with Ed's help and the board at the time, we got the flower boxes, and we put dirt in them, and all sorts of flowers and things. Most of them died because nobody came out of the store to water them twice a week. Water the flower twice a week.
Dave, that was before the policy changed, when we had a beautification committee, which we don't have a beautification committee anymore. The committee planted the flowers, but unfortunately there was nobody designated to care for them, weed them, water them, whatever, which is why we changed the policy.
But don't you think if,
The individual store owner has got to request that barrel. It's not indiscriminately placed anywhere along the avenue. The individual storekeeper requests that barrel, which means that they provide the topsoil, the plantings, they care for it, and we have found that if they have to take money out of their pocket to plant and fertilize and weed, they're 100% more involved and interested in making sure that that barrel remains alive and healthy than if you just place them along the avenue and it's nobody's responsibility.
They're showing some
We
pride.
changed that policy about 4 years ago and it works well.
Yes, the
Right.
merchants really do take nice care of them.
Are there empty barrels that are not planted at this point? Or does each merchant, are all of the, last summer were all the barrels planted?
Wherever you see a barrel in front of a
That's because
business,
they've requested
the
it.
owner has requested
Okay,
that.
otherwise it's removed.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
It used to be years ago that we just put them out
Yeah,
randomly,
I agree with what you're
indiscriminately.
Well, we had many, a lot of them were lost in
Yeah,
the
flood.
06 flood too.
Yeah.
They ended up in a deposit or somewhere.
But
Really? Let's go get them back.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
we've been replacing them, Dave, but they're very expensive.
Oh, they are.
Each barrel is about $200.
Yeah, right.
Okay, yes.
My name, I'm actually here for a few things. My name is Wendy Reed Jackson. I live on Upper Eastbrook Road. I've called Walton home for the past 13 years. This is also home to my husband and our 3 children, and my stepdaughter is a 2007 graduate of Walton Central School. I've been an active member of the Delaware River Stage Company for over 10 years. I served as a chairperson for the art show at the Delaware County Fair for 5 years, and I've been serving as a board member of the Walton Education Foundation since 2012. I'm currently a volunteer coach for the Girls on the Run program of Central New York with middle school students. During the day, I teach elementary and middle school art. I'm not unique in any way. There are countless others in our community that volunteer their time because they understand how important it is to our children, youth, and community at large. They love where we live, are invested in the community, and want to see Walton thrive, and that is why I'm here this evening. I love the fact that I can go practically anywhere in town and usually always bump into someone I know. I'm a people person and I enjoy catching up with others. I enjoy the familiarity of faces and the friendly, welcoming feel of our small town. I also appreciate the fact that on more than one occasion I've lost my bank card and each time it's been safely returned to me. I love the fact that my children's teachers will call me at home to share their successes or challenges. And on the same note, I love the fact that my doctor will call me at home to follow up after an appointment. I'm constantly impressed with the fact that whenever someone is in need, the whole community without fail pitches in and helps out. I'm still amazed that our community was able to successfully raise $90,000 in 5 months' time for a digital movie system for our beautiful theater. These are all foreign experiences to me, as I'm used to living in larger urban areas where people generally keep to themselves and take care of their own. I find Walton's sense of community to be one of its strongest attributes, coupled with the beautiful landscape that we are surrounded by. Every year at this time, I fall in love more and more with the area as everything turns green and our living space is no longer confined to just the walls of our home. However, as of late, I've noticed some changes in Walton, and these concern me greatly. My husband and eldest son were at a Boy Scout cleanup at Austin Lincoln Park last weekend, and they found 2 hypodermic needles while cleaning near the playground. My neighbor across the road from me found a large Ziploc bag containing a needle, and this is how he described it to me, packages of white substances and what looked like a small glass bowl in the ditch of his property. For some time, I have heard that Delaware County, and specifically Walton, have a growing drug problem, and specifically heroin, but this is our first time experiencing it this closely. This scares me and concerns me greatly, not only for my own children, but for all the children of our community. I've also noticed, this is a bit redundant because we've addressed this a bit, but I've also noticed that there are properties that don't seem to be as cared for as they used to be, with piles of debris growing larger and larger each day. As well, there are many homes in a state of disrepair that only seem to be getting worse. Our downtown still shows evidence of being ravaged by floods, with missing trees, empty storefronts, and nightmarish potholes, which I know that has to do with the weather. Unfortunately, I think when prospective business and property owners drive through our town, they do just that. They keep driving and don't stop and don't look back. I want our town to be a place where people want to stop and stay, open a business, buy a home, move here, and raise their family, and I think it's possible. I think we as a community need to take an aggressive approach and stand to the apparent heroin epidemic we have in Walton and send a very clear message that it will not be tolerated. People need to be accountable for their properties and businesses, and if it's a rental, then the owners need to be. I know this was addressed by Mr. Dutcher initially, and it sounds like we're moving in the right direction, but I think there need to be stricter codes in place for properties and their upkeep and maintenance, as well as stricter codes limiting the amount of non-related individuals living in the same dwelling. Lastly, with respect to people or businesses in arrears with their taxes more than 3 years, set a precedent that it's unacceptable and fine them. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an art teacher. I don't assume to know how to run a village and all that entails, legal, financial. But I would be happy, and I'm here to support Roberta in this, to volunteer my time and to assist in any creative endeavors that the community would be interested in exploring, to assist Walton in having some more curb appeal. I always look around and I think there's tons of places for wall murals that could feature some of our town and areas, things that they have to offer, whether it be, you know, hiking, cycling, fishing, all that kind of stuff, the fair. So these are just my observations, thoughts, and suggestions, and I think Walton is worth fighting for. And I hope you do too, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
I'd like to add on to that. On Stockton Avenue, on 3 different occasions, I've walked on the guardrail side going up towards the school, towards my house, and I've discovered discarded hypodermic needles. I've taken them down to the emergency room and they put them in their sharps box, but it's important that young people know that if they see a needle, tell an adult. Don't touch it, tell an adult, and the adult will come take care of it. And that's really important because we don't want our kids picking them up, curiosity. It is a problem.
I don't even really want to have that conversation at this point, but I will because I believe in that. But yeah, I think my husband did make a call and it was entered into a logbook, but it's a very, very scary prospect.
If I may say one thing, you know, I mean, I understand drugs are an issue right now. I mean, I did it for most of my career, as most you probably know, in New York City. Walton doesn't have any more drugs than any place else. I just want to make that clear. It's not that Walton has a heroin overdose of everybody doing it here and no place else. If you listen on the news media, you got the senators and the governor and everybody else is getting involved. This has become a countrywide problem. It's an epidemic, unfortunately, and we are addressing it. And I just want you to know that.
No,
I mean,
and I appreciate that.
The chief is on top of it. That's me personally, that's my big thing here. Is this first year we've had to get all our finances in order. Now we're concentrating a lot more on that. Every time people can call, sometimes I realize that sometimes people, as good as the chief is, people sometimes get intimidated by having a uniform.
Yeah.
And
my neighbor was going to just dispose of this stuff, and I said,
I've been, I told a few people that, you know, if you feel funny, you can call me. They can call me. I'll give it the name. I won't use your name. I'll give it anonymous. I called the chief today for something, and someone called me up, and it's not. They just feel funny sometimes. People calling the police. You can call me up. You can call the office. They'll give you my number. You call me. I'll keep it private. I'll get all the details. I'll never give your name up, and I'll talk to the chief, and we'll work on it. We're only as good as you.
I agree.
You know what I mean? People have to realize that. They think, why don't the police do this? Police are only as good as the people in the community that inform them what's going on. And you can do it anonymously. You don't have to be.
Well, I have no issue about anonymous or not. I'm here to say that I don't want it here, and I don't want it on my street, and I don't want it around my children, and
I want you to know that that's, as the mayor said, that's a big thing on my plate. My goal is to rid the village of Walton.
Well, with all due respect,
Okay.
I mean, I know that it's everywhere else, but I mean, what I care about is here.
I'm not concerned about every place
you know?
else, I'm concerned about here.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, just so you're aware, and I'm sure you know, I'm also trying to get a message out to our little ones.
Well,
I went over to the school a couple weeks ago.
They were scared. My kids were scared. Rightfully so.
Yeah, and the chief is gonna, him and I have had this conversation already about going to the schools, both schools, on numerous, every other month or every couple months. It's not gonna be a one-time thing, it's gonna be going back and forth, because we need to keep on top of it, and we need to let the kids know that it's okay to say something if they see it and talk. And so anything suspicious, please, no matter how small it may be, you can call me and tell me, and we'll pass it on, because sometimes the smallest things you see end up being something that's important.
And there are people who today said to me, I'm a little intimidated and I'm also afraid of retaliation. But knowing they can call, and I'm going to say that tomorrow, you can call and you can remain anonymous.
I don't mind, I mean, that's what I did for 15 years. I mean, and the chief and I have a very good relationship, and if they feel funny talk to me, I'll relay it right to him, and and the only way you can get things done is knowing what's going on, and he can start piecing it all together.
Yes.
Because if you get a bunch of people calling us, then you can kind of home in on where it's going from, because all the pieces will fit into the puzzle.
I also feel that it's realistic and it's reasonable to think that we live in a community small enough that I've only been here 13 years. I know a lot of people, I know a lot of kids that I see, that if my child was out doing something that maybe they're making a poor choice, that another adult might stop by and say, hey, do you think you need to keep moving on? And I would expect that for my child and for others. And there are kids out there that don't have that from their parents, so it needs to come from other adults. And I think as a community, we can do that, and we can do it in a kind, but in a way to say, you know.
So I think the timing is good on this, because, you know, building some community interest, community pride, spirit, because whether you see it or not, we're on the threshold of several dozen jobs being created, more than that over the next 2 years, give or take, different things that the board and especially Ed have been working on for a while. And when the board has talked, the last thing we want to do is have all these jobs come in, 3 or 4 different things happening, falling into place, and it looks like most, if not all of them will, and have all these jobs created, decent jobs in the village, but have everybody go back to their homes in Sydney or Deposit or Oneonta or Franklin and spend, so they come into Walton from home, earn their money, take it back out of the village to spend. Well, what did we gain? We didn't gain a damn thing. And, you know, doing what we can to clean up the drugs, doing what we can to clean up streets and blight, doing what we can to improve Delaware Street, the aesthetics visually. So it's not a place that people drive through.
Okay, then I'm just here as another person from my 4-H group.
Sure.
So the Harvest Hooligans 4-H Club is interested in planting flowering trees or bushes along Delaware Street as a community service project. The 4-Hers aged 6 to 9, accompanied by their parents, would hold fundraisers to raise the money needed to purchase trees from George and Peggy Bolton's business, Country Grown Perennials. The Boltons purchased their trees from the Finger Lake region so that they are hardy and best acclimated to our region's weather patterns. The children will be under the tutelage of Peggy to determine which trees will be healthiest in our area. They will be photographing and journaling the progress as part of their 4-H project. Please help these young people develop a sense of pride in their contributions and the beauty of our community. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. And this is from Molly Taylor, who sends her regrets for not being able to be here. So this is a 4-H group that we're part of that we would like to...
Last meeting, Greg Groutman, read a letter from him for his group. He asked, he got a $100 grant for 2 trees, and he went to Peg also and got it. And these trees don't go more than 11 feet high. That's what we're looking for on Delaware Street, something that will grow but not too high and ruin the businesses, they
Right.
can't
Right.
see, and that was half our problem before.
The last
So-
trees got so big, they got entangled in
Right,
wires
okay.
and
If
laying
you're looking
on
11 feet
buildings.
high,
Yeah.
probably doesn't, not fruit bearing, but
Yeah,
flowering.
because we, also, you're looking at the sidewalk, you got people that walk in, so you don't want all these berries and stuff falling down, and people are gonna trip and things. So, and Peggy knows that, because I've had numerous conversations with Peg about this. She knows exactly what we're looking for. But we already gave him permission by Tom's Tire Barn, the empty lot. There's one there and one in front of the Circle Antique Place.
Okay, so it sounds like there's some logistics to work out.
That's two,
before
there's
we
only
hear.
2 trees going so far,
Okay.
so.
Okay, and then I'm here for one, as a third person from the Education Foundation, as a coach for the Girls on the Run program. The Education Foundation is sponsoring the program for the girls. We're holding a mock 5K. I think Melissa Grossman had sent Jody an email with respect to that. I'm here just to speak to, we're having a mock 5K on May 12th, so next Monday, needing to get permission to have the girls be able to run on the sidewalk. We have a route planned. It's from the Walton Education Foundation first 5K run that they had, which was over on the other side of town, down Stockton, down through the fairgrounds. It came back through Holly Street, back up onto Stockton, and then up Maple and back to the school. We'd be looking at having like 55 girls. It would be supervised by 20 volunteers that we have between our coaches and parents, but needed to get permission to do that. And it would start at 4:30. We don't anticipate it being longer than an hour for the girls to do that. With the culminating run June 1st in Cooperstown, which we would encourage community members to come out and encourage our girls to do that. It's been a great program.
What
so
day is
far.
it on?
May
Pardon
12th,
me?
right?
May 12th is the mock 5K, yeah.
What time?
4:30, starting
Okay,
and
4:30,
finishing at the high school.
Do we have any?
for that?
Yeah.
Chief, do you see any,
We'll have
do you have any
to-
concerns about that?
No problem.
We've done, that's been done before, as long as they stick to the sidewalks as much as
Yep.
possible to stay away, avoid traffic.
Yep.
And you'll have people with them, right?
We have volunteers at, especially on the streets, but especially at the corners,
for
and we're
safety.
having flag people, and then also people running with our girls as well. But it's just to get them prepped for this 5K in Cooperstown.
Motion.
You make that motion?
Sure.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Excellent.
Carried.
Thank you, and I'm done. Thank you.
Wendy, I'm just going to back up to,
Yes.
if you put your first hat back on.
Okay.
I just want to say, the board is very concerned about everything you're saying. And even though it's a large expense to the village, we are totally committed to keep a 24-hour police department. We are only one of 2 villages in the whole of Delaware County that have 24-hour police coverage. And the sheriff's department also works with our PD. And Ozzy, the drug-sniffing dog, has been here on more than one occasion. So when there's something that they are aware of, then they call the sheriff's department, and that comes in. So that goes back to Ed saying, if you see something, say something.
Yep.
Okay?
But you need to tell, again, you need to call. If you,
Oh, yeah, and-
if you can't talk to the chief, call me, I'm available, I'll
Yeah, and
answer your
I
call.
left it with my neighbor for the one incident. I know my husband made a call and it was logged and stuff, but, yeah.
And a lot of times, and sometimes you'll make calls and you don't see results right away. Please don't think that nothing's being done. Because being in narcotics myself, sometimes you can have a case, it could take a couple months, 3 months, and then you make a lot of arrests. So it's, if you talk about it, it's being taken care of, trust me.
I'd like to just add with what you were talking about, cleaning up and so forth. Recently, I've seen more people out there, 1 or 2, like next to the bridge over there. There was a couple in there and they worked there all day long. I don't know who they were or whatever, but like what you said, I should have stopped and said thank you instead of always being in a hurry,
You're right.
you know?
It's a good thing to.
But I've seen a lot of that lately.
Yeah. Well, I have to remember to take extra bags as I walk my dog, because I
Yeah.
see things.
That's what we do too, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the children, if we can bring them on board and they
Well, that's,
Right in our community.
they take pride in
that's the ones that'll learn. We've already learned, right? Whatever good we're gonna do. But they're the ones you can
Right.
teach.
And my
So,
grandchildren are always trying to pick things up. I'm like, don't touch it.
Yeah, I had jokingly made a joke to the Boy Scout leader saying, don't pick up any needles in prophylactics. And sure enough, needles were found, which was a little, because we're the parents that are there at the playground with our kids. We're not letting them run, and it's a concern, because with needles come
I have no use for
needle
that
stick injuries
stuff.
and disease, so. Yeah.
Not even marijuana.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's legalizing it. It's still-
Can we get back to the trees again?
Yes.
You want permission to,
And it sounds like we obviously need to work through a few more things, but if you've had a conversation with Peggy then, and if you know spaces, I mean, I haven't walked downtown to see exactly, I just know that there's empty plots.
I would, as long as the board approves it, I would just suggest that before you do it, you check with me.
Okay.
We'll go down and do a physical walk,
Take a
or,
walk.
you know, and we'll just go over the different spots that you wanna put them in.
And it sounds like you've got the bases covered from what you were saying, but I know some years back, here we go again, but the merchants had an issue with some trees, and I don't know if they end up being put up or were almost put up, because they were they had these brown banana-like seeds
know
that
which
dropped
ones you're talking
down,
about,
and
yeah.
the merchants
Pots.
understandably were real concerned that we
Yeah.
not put that kind of a tree up. They're pretty for a while when they have flowers, but they drop these banana-shaped brown seeds down, and it's a mess, and understandably, the merchants wanted nothing to do with that kind of a tree. I mean, 'cause it's a mess and people gotta walk on them and stuff, so. But it sounds like you're addressing that going in.
Yeah.
I've talked to Peggy a lot, and when you get time for that, we'll take a look, and Peggy can come down and we'll talk more on it, but she has an idea what we're talking
I
about.
know several years ago I approached you when we did the Christmas show together years ago about this, putting banners out downtown. And I know some communities do have banners where they say welcome to, this sort of thing. I've seen a project out of Nanaimo, British Columbia. They have a package you can purchase. I'd be willing to purchase it. It gives the plans out how you go about doing it. But it's where local artists and community members can create a design, and they have an artist group, and then a non-artist group, and then a youth group, where they design them, and you put them up on street
Telephone
poles.
pole, yeah, I know what you're
And
talking
do you
about.
remember
Yep.
I had 3 kids in the process in between, and so kind of got put to the wayside. But it would be something that I'd love to take on, and I think it would be
Absolutely.
really nice for our main street, and we could feature different things in our area. But I would be willing to purchase that package and then see if we could, through something like that, get that started, if that would be okay.
I appreciate that. We'd like to do a lot more, but as you know, we've had that funds are low routine with this past year. We've really been bad financially. But yeah, I would love that. Tink is working on the flags, putting flags up on Delaware Street. We got the flags donated from the Vets Club, but we have to get all the equipment. The poles are broken and all the equipment. So then the process of doing that, and then when he gets them all done, I'm gonna help Tink. And
We've
so
had
once
2
he
or
climbs
3
the ladder, I'll
people
help him.
donate to that too, so I just want the mayor to know that.
What?
That's 2 or 3 people have donated to
Yes.
the materials,
Well, I
which
think
are
that could be
covered.
something-
What club was it? Was it?
For the flags? No, it was the Vets Club. They gave us
The flags, but what if they gave us money?
Oh, the Masons, we got $100 from the Masons. They gave us money for the flags.
And we had some independents that gave us money.
What was the name of the 4-H?
Yeah.
On banners on the poles, would that be a conflict with the American flags that are going up on the poles?
American flags have to be on poles that have a light above them. So that's why they aren't on every pole on Main Street.
So we have some other
these things
flags,
could be
some poles,
on
not every pole
the
has a
other
flag.
poles.
There are some that don't.
It could be on
We could do on the ones
different-
that don't have the flag,
I
we
mean,
could
I've
put
seen
that
it in
on.
different communities, and it's really lovely to look, and then what they'll do is take photographs of the banners, and then they can sell them as note cards or bookmarks, and then they'll have an auction to auction off the banner, retire them, and then then you can decide on a theme, like I'd hoped to do it, I guess, when it was the 120th.
When you say banner, what are,
Banner, like a tall, from here down, so you'd have a metal part that comes across, another metal part, and it's like canvas, so there's the sewing.
we had
and-
those, we had those. Gary Cady, it was on whether the Chamber of Commerce, but Gary Cady, when he was here, when he was alive, had those, and they were seasonal, and they're very attractive, different colors. They had a Christmas one, a summer, seasonal, fall.
Franklin has them now, I think.
And-
Franklin does have them. These would be ones that we would actually, somebody would sew them, and then, or we could probably buy them
Yeah.
primed and stuff, and then people would enter in, you know, a picture piece, and then it has to be gridded and put on there, but then they would be selected, and then you go
You know,
forward
these
like
were
that.
commercially, and you see it in a lot of small villages now, these were commercially
Yeah.
produced. And I don't know what, I know for a while they started not to be changed when the season changed, and whether
These
they
are
got,
like, these would be hand painted.
worn
and so we
out
would
or
have to have
tattered, but
space where they would need to
Gary
be hand
Kate-
painted and stuff,
yeah, I
but.
remember Gary Katie had a lot to do with those, but that's why I was wondering if it was the same kind of thing.
There's probably some residents that are painters and
Oh,
artists.
there's tons
that
of
would
artists
like
that
to
I know
contribute
from the,
as, yeah, their second home or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would think that would be wonderful.
that would in an artist group, but I think it would be a lovely way to just up the curb appeal of
Yeah.
our main street, so people might decide to
It's a
stop.
nice effect when you get enough of them lined up.
Oh, yeah, it's quite nice.
Oh, yes.
What was the
And then
name
have
of-
school children involved in it as well, having a
Hooligans or
category, which
something
is
like
nice.
I'll make a motion for that. What was the name of the 4-H group that was?
Oh, the
for
Harvest Hooligans.
The Harvest?
You're gonna make the motion?
I'll make a motion that the board support the effort by the
Thank you.
Harvest Hooligans
Yeah, if you know our children,
to put
you know that the
trees
name
in,
is
and that
very
we ask the mayor that you present a proposal to the
Yes.
mayor, and he'll give a thumbs
you,
up or
I
no.
Thank you. We need a second on that?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Second, I want a discussion.
What?
The only discussion I have is now where the flags go up, you're talking about putting these on the poles, right?
Yeah,
Okay, now, usually the flags go on every other pole,
so we could do,
but in front of the physical workout place down there, you don't want to hang anything there.
Okay.
Because there's a tractor and trailer that comes in there, it's ruined 2 flags so far, so we don't even
Okay.
put one there
so
anymore.
that's good information to know for working out the,
But if you want, you can get a hold of me,
okay,
because these flags will be going up probably very soon.
okay,
They're all more or less together, so,
great.
okay?
Yeah, and like I said, I will purchase this package that gives you a step-by-step breakdown of how to go about doing it so it's successful. And
Okay.
Roberta and I and some other people, we can work together on that, and I think it would be a nice thing to plan for.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the trees part. So can we have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Done. Anyone else want to talk? Okay, thank you for all your input. Really appreciate it. All right, number 4, appointment, John Clark to the planning board. We have some openings there. I spoke to John about it. He said he would like to do it, so I'm making, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Done. Number 6, standard workday reporting. I think have you all seen this?
Yeah.
Would you care to make a motion? This resolution?
I don't think I understand it, can you?
The state mandates that we let them know within a certain amount of time of our from our election, the hours that anybody that's participating in the retirement system, the
Okay.
elected or appointed officials.
Okay.
So, right now, there's nobody that's elected that participates in the retirement system, but they say that because Roger and myself and Misty and the chief and Steve are appointed, that we have to report our work hours.
Okay.
So that's
Thank you.
what this is for.
Okay, so can I have a motion on that then?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, number 7, the water sewer rate proposal. You want to talk on that? Or everybody seen it? I mean,
Yes.
Submitted it.
anybody have any questions about that?
No.
Have you got a copy? Have you?
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So because this is part of a local law, we will need to have a public hearing on this. So,
Okay.
So we
Make that
need to
motion.
make it,
unless they want to
Want to
fix
do it on the
it.
15th as well? Can we do that at the same time? Oh, no, no.
No,
what am I-
'cause it
Next
has-
month?
No, next,
Needs
yeah,
to be-
June
June
2nd.
So we-
2nd.
you making a motion?
Yes.
Need a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So what was that date?
June 2nd?
June
before
2nd.
the next meeting. So that's 2 public hearings we have before the meeting starts.
Another quick one. Okay, number 8, Moore Avenue, truck traffic.
You got a
There
letter.
was a letter.
I'll read the letter real quick because it's, I mean, you don't have it, but It's from Stephen L. Dutcher, 5 South Street, and Dorothy Ludwig, 7 South Street. Truck accidents to Moore Avenue. Yesterday, we once again witnessed a truck and trailer pull off Moore Avenue onto South Street, which required the truck to drive on the lawn and sidewalk of both 7 and 5 South Street. This has happened repeatedly over the years, and especially during Fair Week. When it does happen, the weight of the truck leaves heavy, deep ruts in the lawn and breaks up the sidewalk. More often than not, the drivers leave the area without being caught, leaving damage repair up to us, the homeowners. We ask that the board restrict the use of Moore Avenue to local traffic only. There are several other entrances to the fairground which provide proper access for trucks, hauling trailers, and using those entrances would prevent them from damaging lawns and sidewalks that we as homeowners are responsible for maintaining. And they both see it, both sides.
I can understand the problem, but I would say that if we decide to do something about this, I think we should include Fair Street as well, because it's also another small side road that if we say you can't do it on Moore Street, now then move to Fair Street, it's going to be the same thing for the neighbors there, where there's a big entrance down at the end. You know,
There's a parking lot, there's a big entrance there.
Right. They can swing in.
And they can swing into the fairgrounds too.
Right,
So-
and the armory's across the street, so there's no private property that, you know, they're damaging anybody's side. There is no sidewalk over by the armory.
I would really like to have a representation from the Fair Committee here to go over this. At least we could have some continuity instead of just throwing out something that's going to blindside somebody.
Well, is this another thing that we're going to have a public hearing on anyway? Is it-
Right.
If you're gonna post parking,
Okay.
do
If
something.
we're gonna have to post parking, if it gets to the point of posting parking or any kind of sign, we're gonna have a hearing.
Well, what would we post? I'm not against it, I just, what would we post, just so I'm understanding what we'd be doing? What
Is it
would
a
we-
truck weight, or is it commercial trucks?
I think it's gotta be the weight and the size of the vehicle, because you've got such a short turning radius coming out of both of them, that it's up on the sidewalks. You know, I run into this every year at the fair, you know, then, like, lots of times you don't catch up with these people, and like the letter says.
But it'd have to be fair, if we're gonna do a public law, the signage would have to be pretty specific. And I don't know, I haven't seen a sign that said weight limit, but I haven't seen a sign that said like size limit necessarily. Unless it's like on the thruway where, you know, they're doing bridge work and it narrows, the barriers narrow down or something.
Well, the big one is the box trucks aren't the big problem, the tractor and trailers are the problem.
Well,
You know?
fair time, they even bring the amusements,
Yeah,
you know,
they-
those rides down those little
And
side
I've
streets.
had discussions with the fair board about this particular issue in the past.
And what's their feeling on it?
Well, they have made, I'll say they've made some effort in terms of trying to, because it's usually Saturday night when the fair is over, you know, 2 o'clock Sunday morning is usually when a lot of the rides are pulling out of there. And I guess, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I would suspect that probably everybody's burned out on the fair by that point. So there's nobody really guarding that gate to stop and say, you know, go down to that other entrance and get out. And I'm sure there's quite a traffic jam down there at that time of night with people trying to get out.
Isn't there always somebody on Fair Street during Fair Week? Isn't there like always like a guard there, somebody sitting there with a barricade?
Yeah, they stop at night at that time.
Pretty much when all your entertainment and everything's
You know,
done for the night.
maybe it's just asking the fair board to sit down with them
Sit down right off.
and talk to them and say, listen, here's what the issues are, we're
This
not
is what
looking
I'm
to
doing,
enact
yeah.
any laws, but I think he has a good point there. Maybe if we sat with them and got an agreement with them that they would have, especially during Fair Week and any big things, put the police barriers up in and let them have somebody sitting there. They hire all these guys for the fair anyway, to direct traffic and everything. Why not have somebody there for?
And when the fair, when the fair itself is going on during that week, I mean, the traffic in and out of there is usually just service trucks, you know, big pickup trucks or maybe a box
Right,
van,
right.
something like that. So it's usually, and I don't want to focus just on the fair. I mean, obviously this,
Well, during the year, they have other things
this
going on.
particular issue just took place. I mean, and there's any number of potential solutions to this, you know. Moore Avenue has a gate on it, you know. So, you know, can that be essentially maintained as closed so that nobody has to babysit it? You know,
Well, I'm not so sure that we're not the ones that opened it.
Well, again,
with our snow.
Right, they open it, usually, usually it gets closed right after fair, sometime around that time period. When snow starts to fly, it gets opened back up again. Again, I don't know if that's our gate, if that's the fair's gate. Obviously, it's the entrance to essentially private property, so.
As far as I know, it's the fair's gate.
Right, so.
The fence.
You know, if it's a matter of working out a deal where, unless it's absolutely needed for any other traffic, that gate stays closed. I don't know what we would do with Fair Street, but, you know, my concern in this is that, you know, I got a little old lady living next to me that, and she wouldn't mind me calling her that. She's got a good sense of humor. You know, these trucks are driving over top of the sidewalk, and ultimately she is the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is getting destroyed. You know, I go out there and fix the damaged lawn for her, and you know, it's just obviously it's a nuisance, it's a hassle, and there's solutions available. You know, i.e., trucks go out the service gate on the other end. I mean, that's a really simple solution.
But the village is responsible for sidewalks.
You know, the homeowner is responsible for sidewalks.
Most of the repair is done by the village, as far as I know.
Right, and the agreement is it's a 50-50.
And I'm not saying anybody should be running over the sidewalk.
Right.
That's not my point.
But it's a 50-50. The homeowner buys the materials, the village does the work.
Right.
But this is damage that is preventable.
It is preventable, but I don't want to see a scenario going on here where there's going to be a holocaust of.
Right, and again, you know, I don't want to sit here and point fingers and say it's all the Fair Board's fault. You know, there's all kinds of traffic in and out of there all year long.
Well, the other thing is too, the fair's been there how many years? You know, that street's been open, so I don't think they're gonna, hopefully we can come up with something to calm people down and actually work together to come to a happy medium.
And that's all that we are asking.
That's all I'm asking.
Is come up with a solution so that we, you know, we don't have.
Instead of just saying we're gonna shut them off.
Would it be worth your while to go to the Fair Board, you and your neighbor, and ask them if they would just direct the traffic and that the village would put signs up if they'll agree to it? Can we do that? No, we can't do that.
You know, yeah, any signage we put up.
Sounded good though, didn't it?
Well, my first thought that when Steve told me about it, I said, well, okay, no problem. We'll talk to Roger. We'll get 3 or 4 big stones. We'll put them right in the place there. If they go up on the sidewalk, they're going to ruin the whole bottom of their trucks.
Right.
But then you're ruining the front. I mean, it's a hassle.
And I've rolled butt logs of trees that I've had on my property out there at those critical time periods, just to try to keep people from driving.
I don't think we
across
want to do anything permanent though, because
No.
if there's an emergency down there, we want the emergency vehicles to be able to get in there the quickest way possible.
Yeah, and I don't want to do anything permanent on my own property, because, you know, I got to have a place to shovel my snow and do all of that sort of stuff, so I don't want to create an obstacle for myself.
If you post it for a weight limit or size or something, and I don't, this is a little out of my area of expertise, but you got truck drivers that have been going through there for years, and the fair, say when they leave, it's the middle of the night, they packed up, and the last thing they want to do is, you know, play rodeo under their truck.
Right.
Is posting a weight or size limit going to be enough for those? Because it's only going to take 1 or 2 trucks not obeying it to put you right back where you.
Right, and I processed that in my head, and you have a very valid point. I mean, the sign is only as good as the reader.
Exactly.
You know, so we can put all the signs up we want, but if they're not going to pay attention to them, you know, so be it. I mean, I've watched them, you know, run the stop sign over on Moore Avenue because it was in their way to try to make the swing. I think we just replaced one last year.
I wonder if the gate would be the
Absolutely.
I think we just need to talk to the fair board and see if we can talk about that about
fair,
the.
and when the time comes, talk with Mr. and Mrs. Reithoff also down here, and have them instruct their drivers, when you leave, go out that way.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
So what's the best way to approach it? To invite the fair board to send a rep to discuss it with us?
No, I think that one of us should go probably to the fair board and speak to them at their meeting.
To their meeting.
And I think that's a fair thing. This fair board, fair thing, you know?
Well, the layout there is where the problem comes in, of the fairgrounds. Trying to get down around the horse barn.
You got a straight shot.
Down through, huh?
You got a straight shot by where we used to have the PD, right straight out in the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Depending on what's going on.
Again, you know.
You're gonna have a
maybe
lot of
that's
stuff
something we can
parked
work it out
there.
so you can keep
You
it
had the
open.
PD here, and right across the road was where everything was parked, as far as equipment and so forth.
Hey, Tink, you want to talk to the fair board?
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Go down to the next meeting?
Yeah, but
I can
what's-
go, I might not get,
I'll go with you.
they may not.
All day. I'll.
Who is
spot
that
it.
masked man over there?
They got the ornery
Yeah.
characters.
Chief will go too. We'll find out with the next meeting. We'll go down and talk to them, okay?
Try to
Go
come
with
to
the
some
chief.
type of meeting.
Chief will protect you, don't worry.
Well, I'm not worried about
Oh,
that.
yes, you are.
I'm
You're
good as new, I'll
scared.
protect you.
You're a scaredy cat, I know you.
Good as new.
How many
Okay.
of them is there?
Okay. Then we'll move on to the next thing then. Trustee reports. So was you last time? You don't remember?
No.
Have you seen your moment? All right, I'll go read it again.
Okay.
Teresa, start.
Okay, everybody got a copy of the summer hires?
Good.
There's 2 additions. Under the pool for weekend supervisor, a substitute weekend supervisor would be Tammy Jamison.
Tammy?
And for the water safety instructor, Marissa Castillo, Castillo.
Where'd you put her, lifeguard or water safety?
Water safety. And so I would make a motion that we approve the hiring of these people for summer.
Motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I'd also like to say that we are still in need of some lifeguards. So if there's anybody out there who thinks they would like to be a lifeguard and are qualified, please either contact Brian Sprague, put in an application. We'd be glad to hear from you. The pool is scheduled to open on June 28th, Saturday. And I'm saying scheduled because it's always weather, contingent. Swimming lessons are scheduled to begin Monday, June 30th. And the applications for the swim lessons are scheduled to be distributed in the school in early June. There is no charge for residents of the village and town of Walton for swim lessons. And for non-residents, it has remained the same. The cost is $45 for any non-resident who would want to take lessons here. Now, before then, there's going to be some concrete repair work, both in the restrooms and some repair work bordering the pool. And the last thing I have is that we would like to thank the This and That Country Crew 4-H Club because they have committed to painting all the tables at the Austin Lincoln Pavilion and Upper Bassett Park Pavilion. I guess there's graffiti and some clever and some not so clever graffiti on the tables, and so this 4-H group is going to paint them for us. And they're going to do that on Sunday, May 18th. So thank you to the leaders and the members of that This and That Country Crew group. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Teresa?
Yeah.
On summer recreation, does anybody know whether Bear Spring Pond or lake is going to be open for swimming this year?
Oh, up at Lawn Pond, you mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
because I had heard that last year it was closed because they couldn't get certified lifeguards.
Oh, that's it. That's the state. So I don't know about that. Yeah.
I get emails from just DEC just for various things, and it's sort of a generic mailing, and I haven't seen it, and they'll do sometimes parks opening or closing, but I haven't seen anything at all about Bear Spring. one way or the other. Not yet, anyway.
What a shame.
It is a shame, I agree. I know, it was nice there, the camping and, yeah,
I think that needs to be promoted.
yeah.
Were you gonna say anything about the soccer?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. We have a letter, do you want to read the letter?
No.
A letter from, it says, "Dear Mayor Snow and the Village Board, I am the president of the Walton Booster Club, the sports program for youth through 6th grade in Walton. We have a summer soccer program which runs from July 1st through August 7th. In the past, we have held this program on high school fields. I would like to use Austin Lincoln Park this year as the bathroom facilities are better, as well as the parking, so I feel it would be safer for all involved. We would also like to be able to open the concession stand. However, I would like to request that you waive the fee for Austin Lincoln Fields as you do for the booster football. The program runs on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. and is for boys and girls ages 4 through 13. There are no tournaments. The teams just play against each other. Generally, we have about 120 children sign up to play. Thank you for your consideration in this matter, and I hope to hear from you soon." Signed, Kimberly Jacobs, the president of the Walton Booster Club. And Brian, I asked Brian if there was conflict, and he said that there were no conflicts as far as them using the fields. So.
Is that the football field, building? The one way up? Is that the building they're talking about?
That's the Booster Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want to make that motion then?
I'll make the motion, yes.
Okay, need a second on
Are we,
that.
for the use or the no fee? I mean, I'm in favor of just so we,
Well,
To waive the fee.
To waive the fee.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Second.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Have you done that?
Yes, now I am finished,
Okay.
really.
No, I'm not rushing. I mean, you see that. Charlie, your turn.
You see how mad? Not only did I leave astray on long talk, now take this next time's you.
Thank you.
What I have to
Oh, thanks,
present.
Charlie. Okay. All right, next. I had to do it now. You asked for that one.
I did. As you know, for quite a while, we've been working, Steve and I, on a new fee schedule for the Village of Walton. And I think you all have a copy of it. I would like to make a motion that we accept this. This is basically what we did is we looked at Colchester, Sydney, and Delhi to see what they had. We kind of took the best from each of those. It's been quite a while since we addressed our fee schedule. This incorporates some of the fees that we previously talked about, such as the fire and maintenance safety inspection fees. So I'll make a motion that we, I guess, do you have any questions on this?
I got a question.
Yes.
We're gonna realize as much money as we realize now out of these new,
It's kind of hard to tell because, for instance, we don't know building permits, how many are we going to have. We know that very shortly we'll have a $4,000 fee coming in from the Baptist Church building over on Townsend Street. But as to people putting additions on their house or building new houses, we really don't have a way of projecting what that will be. For the roofs, one of the areas that a gentleman came and talked to us a couple of weeks about his concern, and kind of an example of what that will be for the roofs. If you look at it like a small storage shed, we'll have a minimum $25 fee. But what it does, but for a larger house, it could be more than what we had in the past. It would be, some cases it'll be a low amount, sometimes it'll be a higher amount. What it's gonna do, and we want to keep the roof fees low, because that's something people have to do. And we don't want to have people that just can't afford, I mean, they're right on the edge of, do I roof this year or next year? Well, I can't do it this year because I have the additional fee to put in. So we've tried to take that into consideration, keeping it low. But to answer your question, for the most part, it looks like we will, but there's so many things that are variable, we don't know how many will come in with construction plans.
And no charge for churches?
That's right.
For building permits?
No, that's for, again, it's previously for assembly, and,
Or are you talking about inspections?
There was on the inspection fees and on
Inspection.
Operating permits, there's an operating permit
Yeah, that's-
requirement for any assembly occupancy over 100 people, and basically gas stations where they have more than the allotted quantity, the allowed quantity per code of flammable items stored on site, and they require an operating permit, and so that would be an additional fee. And the way it's structured is that churches, once again, would not have to sustain that fee, but the other occupancies would.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed fee schedule as presented to the clerk.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Abstain.
What?
Think abstain.
Oh, Chief abstained.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Hey, you have anything?
Yeah. We need a letter of intent to go to where we're buying the truck. Where is that, Jody?
Robert Green?
Huh?
Robert Green?
Yeah, Robert Green. Right now, the cost is, what we have to pay for is $2,000 below what we budgeted. So we need that letter of an intent for Robert Green so they can go on with their paperwork to keep it moving. And I make that a motion that we put a letter of intent together for Robert Green.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else, thing?
No, that's it.
Dave?
No, they'll cover it 9%.
Ah, good. Okay. Not good, I meant, you know, move on. I
Doing my
have,
part.
I'll rub off on you next
Yeah.
time.
oh, boy. I have a few, no, I got that, I think I have that. Okay, I have a few things I have to read. The first thing we want to go to, you've all got copied this, we got a letter from Assemblyman Crouch regarding the gambling casino, potential casino in Broome County. He's looking for a letter of support from Delaware County, which is a surrounding county, in regards to this. There's a motion that you all take a look at, a resolution, if you all have this. I spoke to the town has already approved it, and they've passed the resolution. So if you have any discussion, to bring it up. If not, then I would like to have a motion that we.
Do we know where it's going to be?
It's gonna be in Broome County, we don't know exactly where. That's what they're asking to go. Yeah, maybe Tioga area, you know.
Tioga?
They're fighting it out.
Oh,
Between
okay.
Broome and Tioga.
There's gonna be one license, and that's who gets it.
I see. Oh, I see. So that's why Broome is.
So if Broome gets it, they want us, because we're so sorry, they want to get support from us because we're close to them.
Is that the application fee is $1 million
right.
for the application fee?
Yeah.
I'll have to oppose the resolution if we go forward with it. I guess my position is it's inappropriate for the village of Walton to be, to weigh in on this matter because we don't know how the people in the immediate area of wherever the casino might go in, we don't know how they feel. It's almost like New York City taking a position, weighing in on whether or not we should fix the streets and the potholes on Delaware Street. It's not going to affect them, so they don't care. For us to say, oh, we support it, and then find out that the local residents in the area do not, I think that'd be a foul. There are a lot of negative things that come with casinos, such as increased bankruptcies, crime, divorce, and those are things, negative consequences of a casino coming into a community that I think the local residents need to be able to decide on. So
I think I have to agree with Charlie, because when I saw this, I wasn't sure if it was the place for whatever your feeling is about gambling and casinos. I just wasn't sure it was a place for a village board or a community board of any sort to be endorsing or not endorsing, especially when it's this far away from where it's going to be anyway. Although I know people travel to these things, I just wasn't sure it was a place for a village board to be endorsing it or not endorsing it, for a variety of reasons, actually. Almost unrelated to whether you're for or against the casino itself. Almost a procedural sort of issue, but that's my feeling.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the same question I asked. Is it really our place to?
So if you'd rather not do it, then we won't do it. I just had to read it because he asked us to read it.
Certainly.
And if the board feels at this time they don't want to move on with supporting that resolution, we can do that.
Unless, I mean, in the future, if they can provide us with some additional information, that we could make a better decision. But that was my question when I first read it, was how do we know the people where it's going to be are in favor of it? And do we have that right to make the decision for them?
Okay. Then we'll let that go for now. That was an easy one. Okay. Walton Chamber of Commerce, the Mayor Snow and the village trustees. This annual community yard sale. This annual event is planned for Friday and Saturday, July 4th and 5th. Please confirm that, as in the past years, there will be no permit or fee required for participants, and that a sale on this weekend will not count towards the maximum number of sales allowed per year. The Chamber will have sale maps available in village stores. Arrangements have been made for Walton Town residents to set up in the school bus garage in these days, respectively. Maureen Walker. Need a motion for that?
There are no permit fees for lawn sales.
Yes.
You still need a motion?
Yeah, we have a motion to have it, right? We can't, we always give a motion to have it. Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, this is from Laura and Oliver Fassel of 20 Townsend Street. Dear Village Board members, we are writing to inquire about permission to plant a small tree in front of our house by the curb at 20 Townsend Street. We would also like the village to move the "Do Not Park" sign away from the front of our home, since it is the area we are planning to plant a new tree. We had a large tree removed a couple of years ago near the area. We are considering to plant a smaller tree because it was shading our house too much. We do not have much choice in where we plant on the new tree, since the old root system would be in the way if we go too far left from our driveway. We are sure the small tree we have in mind will add to the beauty of our street. Please contact us about your thoughts and concerns. Comments?
Can we move up no parking sign?
No, they're usually, aren't the new parking signs like on a certain spot, like measured and?
Yep.
I'd kind of like not to see a tree between the walkway and the road anymore. I mean, we're spending a lot of money cutting these trees down at this time. And one of the walkways we run into was the tree causing the problem with the walkway, of course, and that's what we experienced.
We're experiencing that.
I know, like the ones going on Delaware Street with the trees and so forth, they're gonna be such and such a size.
Right.
Well, at least, we won't be around, but this tree's gonna grow. I don't know, I'm not for it myself.
Okay. Any other comments?
I like trees. Obviously, I've got a bunch behind my house. Is there room for them to put it on their yard? I guess I don't know how much space they have, but if they put it back from the sidewalk, between the sidewalk and their home, that'd be terrific. But as we have had problems with hitting the sidewalks and causing problems with that.
I can't picture the place. I wanted someone, just from walking the dogs, there's a nice effect sometimes you get with like a line of trees, just, driving up the street. It's a nice effect aesthetically. And if you drop a tree into the front yard, it must be almost out of sync with the line of tree. That doesn't mean it's, I know what you're saying about you end up cutting trees down and the fall in the street and stuff, the branches. I don't know, I almost have to, I'm not saying put it off, I just, personally, I almost have to see the property to know the picture of it.
Table this for a month and some.
Sure. Okay, we'll table it for a month.
I appreciate that they're making the effort. I mean, planting trees is something the village used to do, and because it's not in the budget anymore, we haven't done it in the last several years. So, all the trees keep coming down and nothing's going back up. I appreciate that they're making an attempt. Whether or not it's the right tree in the right spot, I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll put it off until next month, and we have to look to check out the signs, because if they're put in a certain spot, we won't be able to move them. Okay. Okay, we'll go on to the next thing. From Sydney Federal Credit Union, the 26th Annual Sydney Federal Credit Union Hometown Day Parade is scheduled for Saturday, June 14th, 2014. Join us, and thousands of onlookers will come to Sydney to watch this annual event. It's just an invitation to go to the parade, letting us know what's going on. And if we want to participate, we can let them know. Just let you know on that one.
Thank you.
Yes, we need to have a motion to take 1 cent out of the 6 cents per gallon fee charged for the district covenant for the wastewater treatment plant, and that'd be designated as an administrative fee for the handling of that service. We got that from Dave Merzick. That would be for anyone outside of Walton, or with the city budget, that would be hauling stuff to us, that we would get, a fee, 1% fee, 1 cent fee.
Where does that go?
In the administrative fund to help us run, our general fund, to help us run the village.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And, that's mine. One last thing, everyone had the letter from Amy Hodges on 29 Griswold Street?
Yes.
Did you read that about the shoveling of the snow?
Okay, yes.
It's a long letter, I don't have to read it, I think you all read it. She was given a summons for not shoveling back in an invoice for not shoveling back in December 27th. And she was concerned about it and said that she had to go to work, and Steve came and gave her a summons in the morning, and she was out, and quite honestly, Steve, you can speak for yourself, but he never gives a summons on the same day that it snows. It's always at least a day, sometimes 2 days later. So she's wrong in that.
Yeah, I look back at my records, I don't know precisely when it snowed. I know that on the 27th, I cited, I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 30 properties. And, I've provided her the picture that I took the day that I cited it, so.
Right, her letter doesn't seem that she's asking anything from us. She's just commenting on her experience pretty much and making a couple of suggestions.
As I say here right now, I don't know, I don't handle the financial end of it. I don't know if she got a bill, didn't get a bill at the time that it was cited. I know here recently, we're working on trying to close out their books for the year and collect whatever fees that they could. So there was a lot of people that had gotten sidewalk fines, either didn't pay the bill or whatever, but they got a new bill. So I don't know if she got one and lost it, didn't pay it, and then got a new one, and it was a surprise to her. I can't answer that question.
Those things are billed separately. They're not put with the water bills or the taxes or anything. That's a separate mailing.
Correct.
And each one that Steve gives a a violation, he lets you know about it, and you mail him out a bill.
We wait for the vendor, because we have to see how much they've charged.
Right.
Does the village, we have an abandoned property near us. I mean, there is an abandoned property near us. And up until the last year or two, it seemed like the village crew every so often, or somebody, not the owner, because the owner's downstate somewhere, would shovel it when they got bad enough. But the last year or two, and I don't know, that's probably the last thing Roger needs is more work to do, but do they get fined, or is it a fee for having their sidewalk shoveled?
Yeah. It's a fee for having their sidewalk shoveled with a 50% administrative fee and time.
We hire somebody to do it.
Yeah, really, because they've been missed this last, because, again, walking the dogs, and then I snow blow mine, and I do a bunch of people just to do it, because I'm out there with it. And I end up doing this one house after a while, but it's all trampled down, and nobody's ever doing it. They must be missing. I'll watch next fall and pay attention.
I mean, if it's not getting done, I mean, I went out one day this past winter, and by the time I got to the end of Griswold Street, I had about 40 houses on my list. You know, so I don't always get to all of them.
Oh, sure.
Every time I go out.
Just right across from Townsend School, sort of a yellowish. It's the place where the car was.
Where the car's parked, yes. And I believe I've hit that one before.
Okay.
We're fortunate over on Stockton Avenue because we have a gentleman that takes care of many homes on his own time. Elderly folks that would have trouble doing it, and this guy runs his tractor up and down taking care of it.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
No, the only thing I was gonna ask about this was,
We should come to South Street.
You can go on Townsend Street. Dave, when you walk and go around the corner, 69 Townsend.
you're talking December 27th,
Right.
and she got the notice on April something?
That was the clerk's end of year notice. Whether or not she got the bill in between, I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Oh, which that doesn't tell us here that she did.
Right.
But they always mail them out for everybody once the vendors come in and say what they charge, then they get the bill and they mail them out right away.
But you have like 24 hours, right?
At
It
least.
starts snowing at 8 o'clock at night. When does that snow got to be removed by?
Depends on when it stops snowing.
The clock starts when it stops snowing.
If it stops snowing in the middle of the night, and you got a couple inches when you wake up in the morning, the expectation is that it's gone by 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's got to be clean. Well, I think a lot of people are under a different.
I know and I've answered that question a lot. A lot of
Because
people,
they've asked
I got
me.
24 hours and you know, all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
The letter of the law is by 9 a.m. daily.
Right.
Okay?
But I think some
In
people say, well,
reality-
10 o'clock p.m. at night.
Right.
I got until 10 o'clock tomorrow or whatever, you know.
No, it's 9 a.m. daily.
Well, that needs to be refreshed, I think.
But, you know, the reality of it is, you know, because of my work schedule and any other number of reasons, I might not get out to site sidewalks or check sidewalks
Sure.
until
No, I realize that.
24 or even 48 hours.
Well, you're only one person trying to cover quite an area.
Right, so I guess my point is, they've had plenty of time to take care of their sidewalks by the time I get to them. So if they're not taken care of by the time I get to them, they're not taken care of.
And we've discussed this many times. This is not the first time we brought this up at a board meeting. At least a couple dozen times that I can think of, we've talked about this. So this is by far nothing that's been secretive. We've been out from day one about this. Okay, that's all I have. So we need to go into executive session.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Teamsters
Team-
negotiation.
Teamsters negotiation. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm sorry it took so long tonight, but there was just a lot of stuff going on.